Listen, 2024 is a year that all that is happened in the dark will come back to light. Oh
and that's on Cat Williams.
And I was like, oh my God. Okay, so let's focus. All right, Dr. Charm. So her husband got 34 counts like Trump. Were there any signs, or are there any signs for women to look out that may indicate that, okay, this man is only with me for some kind of financial gain or clout? Because that's what they discussed in the video. Are there any red flags that you can point to, or things to pay attention to when that happens?
Well, first I want to say shout out to everybody in the chat, because I see the chat starting to light up a little bit. One thing is that, we need to do, Lord, I'm going back to your girl on Who the F Did I Marry? She was like, I need proof of funds. Okay. I mean, if you're going to lay down with somebody, people get STD tests. Okay. I see nothing wrong with, if you are in an exclusive relationship with somebody, or you guys are deciding to commit to one another, of asking for proof of income, proof of assets, proof of funds, credit scores, those kind of things. Because the biggest thing to me is when Shirley, all this time, Shirley had a small, modest home in California. And this is off of Chronicle Speaks, because I would follow her religiously on YouTube. She's like,
I love Chronicles.
She's great. So Shirley had a modest home in California for like 20 something years. She had no credit issues, no evictions. She gets with Ernest, and they are getting these big homes in Atlanta and are getting evicted and moving out of these homes. I think they had like 2 evictions when she got with him. Like, that's a red flag at that point, and then the fact that this man had a criminal record. Now, shout out to our ex-felons. I'm not discriminating, saying that you can't change your life. But if you see somebody has a criminal conviction, a felony conviction, you need to see how long ago was it. Okay, because for a job, usually they'll give you, you won't have any problems getting a job if it's over 10 years old. So if it's over 10 years old, you still need to know, what is it? Non-violent? Is it violent? Did it involve financial crimes? These are things you look at. So did she know that Ernest had this criminal record, or he had an old felony going into this marriage? So these are some of the things you need to look at, ladies. And gentlemen, because they got the girls are scamming people too.
And this is an interesting thing, because you had mentioned background checks before, and apparently he was still married to someone else when he got married to her. So I'm going to put it to you, Erica. Have you ever experienced financial deception in relationship? And if not, or if so, please share if you feel free, and also any tips you can give us in regard to that as well.
See, that last relationship, I learned a lot. That last relationship is a book, baby. I thank God for him, because he introduced me to my wealth with his shenanigans. I thank him for that.
So is that last relationship in Faith in Transition? Is Faith in Transition talk about that last relationship, that book?
Well, I have a book following up to that, but yeah, he is the reason why I am click. Yeah. I will give you some backstory. I am not embarrassed about this. I had known his sister for years. When I was a personal trainer, she was one of my clients, and she introduced us. And I will never forget, she asked me one day after class, she said, "Are you single yet?" And I remember thinking, I never told her I was in a relationship, but I was in a relationship and had just kind of ended things with whoever I was with, and was looking to date, was open to date, and just kind of, and she introduced us. And he was really good. He was good looking, very good looking, charming. And we went out, and, things moved speedily, because, I was very clear about what I was looking for. And he met those things. He met them. In the process of us dating, about 8 months into it, I ended up starting to work on ships as a cruise director, taking a sabbatical. And he had a business he was developing, had branding and marketing. And he was traveling as my travel companion to focus on his business. Now, it didn't cost me any money. And that's the key. I'm going to stop right there. It didn't cost me any money. The one thing that I never did was co-mingle funds. I never cross-branded my money. I'm not on your accounts. You're not on my accounts. We didn't even have an our account. I'm going to leave it there, give Dr. Charm some time to come in. But I do not believe in co-mingling money. Once money starts getting funky, you can't get out of anything. You can move, you can relocate, but you are still tied to each other financially. And that is something, as an adult woman, I don't believe in.
Thank you for sharing those insights. And listen, if this is not the plug for the Faith in Transition book, I don't know what is, because I now want to read just to see what went down. If you are joining us, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your income. You are joining me today with our lovely co-queens, Dr. Charm and Erica Lewis, while we discuss all things financial fraud and love. I also want to ask a question to the chats, okay? For those of you who are watching this live, or if you're watching the replay, please comment. How do you vet your potential partners, and what is your process for that? We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, and you can also receive and sign up for our text at Queens to 87948. Today, we are giving you access to the book Financial Lovemaking by Dr. Boyce Watkins to help you learn how to access your partner in a way that feels good to you. So please text Queens, that is Queens with an S, to 87948 so you can get this lovely book and avoid the mistakes about the people we're talking about today. Now, as a CPA and as a women's wealth coach, I actually have a training on this, about an introductory training about wealth and how women acquire it, but also the things that women need to consider. In that training, I do touch upon financial deception, because 45% of couples experience financial deception in their relationship. So that's almost half. So that is very high. And by financial deception, yes, we can talk about Ernest, like Shirley's husband, to the level of a big scam like this. But financial deception can also mean hiding money, can also mean one partner has a gambling situation and they leverage the house, and the next thing you know, you wake up and you have an eviction notice on your front door. It could be, I have a side piece that I funnel money to or pay bills that you don't know about. So it's very interesting that you say that, Erica, about, I think that one thing that helped you in that situation you discussed was that you did not commingle money in that way. There are different ways couples choose to commingle their money. The other thing I want to discuss is 5 financial red flags. Since we are discussing this, I want to give everyone 5 financial red flags to look for in their relationships. This is provided by Experian, who does credit. So they have seen a whole bunch of financial fraud, I am sure. So these are 5 financial red flags to look for. 1, unwillingness to discuss money. So if you are dating someone and their unwillingness to have a conversation with you around money, that's a financial red flag. Uncontrolled credit card debt. Now, you may not know this right away because you're just meeting, but should you ask for a credit report or a credit score, that will also give you some insight around that. The refusal to disclose credit scores is another one. Hiding financial accounts, and gambling and risky behavior. So, Dr. Charm, I'm going to pivot to you. Have you ever been in a relationship where it was difficult to discuss money and finances?
I think as I've matured, I've begun to discuss finances. Like, I never did, in my 20s and 30s. It was just more like discussing careers and professions. But as I've gotten older, I'm asking what credit scores are, and in debt, asking about credit card debt, because those things are important. Because when you get married to somebody, if you make it to the marriage state, then a lot of times those debts are going to be assumed with the into the marriage. And even if they aren't legally assumed, you're still you're still having joint finances. Now, whether you have joint accounts, piggybacking off of Erica, that's different. But still, you all are in the same household. You have bills, and if somebody's got student loans or a lot of credit card debt, so where a percentage of their income is going towards that, that affects the other partner. So I think it's important that we talk about these things. Like I said, people should be getting STD tests and things. And so you should be getting financial, just like you're getting sexual health tests, you should get financial health tests and ask these type of questions.
You know, one of the things I'd like to chime in here, we asked the question of what are the red flags that people need to see? And one of the things that I always like to do is to take it back to accountability. You know, in my situation, I went and I did some self-assessing, like, how did I get caught in this mess? You know, I jumped into something too quick after I had broken up with someone. You have to do your own internal audit with yourself and determine, are you even ready to date? Because if you're not healed, if you're not moving in the direction of being able to focus, you're not going to even notice red flags. If you aren't healed from the last relationship, if you're not feeling confident about yourself, if there's still areas of yourself that you're working on and you're feeling a little gray in between, you know, not quite black and white, but gray over here, gray over there about yourself, you're not in a good position to start making decisions about a partner. So I think before anyone starts dating, before they can even recognize that there are red flags, you have to do an internal audit and say, am I in a good space to date?
And I can tell you right now, a lot of people do not do that. A lot of people do not do audit to see if they're in a good space to date. What I will say is this, and I want to pose this question to the chat as well. How soon should you conduct a background check? Because when I was dating, when I was doing my dating stint earlier on, I used to do checks immediately, because some things you can look up online. I can look up if you own your house. Like, I can look up do a property search. You can do certain things just based off a phone number or address or a plate. So I used to do that early on, but then I was like, okay, it's a waste to run all these background checks, because if the relationship is not progressing to a certain point, like, what is the point as well? You can also find a lot through social media. I remember I was dating this one guy, and he said he had one daughter. And I didn't even look this up. My friend found him on Facebook, and he had like 4 kids, like, in the picture. So it was, and then he said he was divorced. So I asked him for a divorce decree, and he could not give me one. So yes, exactly. So I want you guys to sign up in the chat, and then also you ladies, what kind of financial documents should couples share before marriage or look at before the relationship gets further? I'll start with you, Dr. Charm.
I mean, like I said, I think, we should be sharing social security numbers and running those through a background check. That's checking criminal. We're checking marriage history. The thing with Shirley Strawberry, the marriages should show up in the national check, but they might not always show up. And so the way, I think when Chronicle Speaks went and looked that marriage up, that lady happened to write into her and wrote into into her show and said, hey, I'm married to him. And so then based on that, then she went and found the county that they were married in and then looked up the registry. But sometimes it might not show up in the computer system unless you know where they live. But I think one thing you can do, ladies, is get him to tell you where the places that he lived. And like I said, men too, because, women be scamming too. Find out where they lived and then go look it up. Because I had a guy, we had started going out, and he told me that he had never been married. Then he told me where he lived. Now, I didn't even pay to do a background check. I just did a Google search based on the county that he lived in and found out that he had had a marriage annulled after 6 months. And it was due to, they had some domestic violence going on. And that he had 3 DUIs. So when I saw that, like, skirt, no, thank you. So, sometimes just doing a little cursory Google search. The way I look at it is, if you're interested in them, if you have an interest level, do a Google search, do a social media search. Now, when y'all start to be exclusive and you all decide to be exclusive, go ahead and pay that $19.95, because I say give you peace of mind. Because I'm not going to end up chopped up in the freezer in body parts.
Ooh. Listen, no Jeffrey Dahmer situation. How about you, Erica? What kind of did you share any financial information or documents with that last previous relationship with that person, or no?
We were together 3 years. He never saw a dime. He didn't know who I banked with. I don't play that. That's my money. And he traveled with me when I was on board. And we did a domestic partnership because in order to travel internationally, international and domestic on ships, because of maritime law, there had to be some kind of connection, not just a friend on board, because he would travel with me extensively. So we did the domestic partnership paperwork, which was perfectly fine. It was notarized. And when I got rid of him, I just notarized that it was over. But no, he never had access to my paycheck. He never had access to my checking account. He never had access to my credit card bills. I knew he banked with Bank of America, but I had several accounts with different banks. I mean, and he didn't know that because my banking statements went to a P.O. box, not to my house address where I lived. So that's just something that I came up on with my mama. Shout out to my mama, the Reverend Valerie Lewis. Reverend Val taught me, you hold on to some things, and everybody in a relationship is entitled to some level of privacy. And because we had not, made vows, we had not decided on, taking things to the next step beyond this domestic partnership, because, with him being on ships with me, this was to further his business and his dream. And when I saw he wasn't doing the things necessary to make that happen, I started scaling back, because I knew that I could get this little piece of paper that was notarized, unnotarized, and notarize something else to dissolve this.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that there are ways that women can protect themselves financially, and I'm going to discuss that a little further. And men too, because like Dr. Charm said, women are scammers too. We live in Scam America, honey. It seems like every day I wake up is a new scam that comes along. So, I will discuss different ways that people should consider when it comes to financially protecting themselves, whether it's dating or in a marriage, just all around. But we want to actually go into some facts about Shirley's marriage. So Shirley Strawberry married Ernesto Williams in 2013. He is also called, or goes after the name Ernest, which he was definitely not in this situation. Williams listed his career as a thriving entrepreneur as owner of Ernesto Cuts, a men's grooming salon. Edith Williams married Ernesto in 1985, according to their marriage certificate, and says they were never divorced. Woo! Listen, remember we were discussing the video where the girl said she just wanted the wedding day, but she didn't want the paperwork. She didn't want the wedding day. She didn't want the paperwork. Listen,
I remember.
Sometimes when you just focus on, I just want the big day. I just find it, like you said, Dr. Charm, when it was Risa Tisa, and she said, she just felt like maybe it was just her turn. That's why I say, ladies, do not let your desires blind you so much that you get into these situations. But those were some very interesting statistics. Now, before I go in, I would like for you guys, I'll start with you, Erica. You said a lot last time, but what are the ways that people can protect themselves financially?
Well, number one, I think when you first meet someone, and whether you've done your vetting or your criminal background checks or basic background checks, you can learn a lot about a person's financial status by watch how they spend versus what they make and what they do for a living. If you're meeting someone and they're in between, but they have this lavish lifestyle, that's going to tell you something. So you're in between your finances. You live with your cousin, but you got a $800 car payment, but you don't have your own address. And there's a lot of that happening. So that tells you a lot. If they go out a lot, if they're not, managing their money, if they're not, if they're just ready to just spend, that tells you a lot about the individual. But I always say protect yourself, because if you're not micromanaging your own finances, you're not going to be able to see red flags on how somebody else is spending. any relationship that you have with anyone, I don't care if it's platonic, business, romantic, if you don't have that whole relationship with yourself, you can't monitor what someone else is doing. You're not able to see red flags. So I would say have all of your ducks in a row before, because if you're going to do a business merger, if you're going to merge with me on business, you're going to make sure you have all your things in order. And the more in order you are, you're going to look at me and go, well, wait, she don't have her stuff in order, because you can see all the time that you put into what you're doing. And then you immediately look at my stuff and go like, she ain't got nothing together. So when you've invested so much time in yourself, I go back to self. I believe in accountability. When you spend so much time investing in yourself, so much time getting your ducks in a row, you will be able to immediately pick up on something and say, this is not right. But I wholeheartedly say, watch that spending, look at what they're driving, look at the shoes, look at the clothes, and then talk about their careers. Conversation will tell you a lot. So talk about money. Are they investing? Are they saving? Ask them to give you ideas on how to save and invest, especially those that boast and brag about how much money they make. You know, I'd like to learn from you. Can you share with me some of the tools and things that you've done to make investments? That's something I'm curious to know about. And then once they start talking, you can tell what they know and don't know and judge from there.
Thank you for that, Erica. I think that is very enlightening. I will now pivot to you. So there's people, the chat is going a little crazy. Nelson E. Robertson Jr. says, hiding money from a spouse is crazy. All men don't want a woman's money. And Drastic OM, ladies, I think that a man that hides his kids is foul, but however, men that are raised proper and they do have things going on for themselves, were trained not to tell women about how much money they make. So Dr. Charm, I know that you're dating, so let's pivot back to that. Do you find that men who actually have, like Drastic said, men who actually have things going on for themselves do not tell a woman how much money they make and are more reserved with their financial status than men who don't?
Well, I would be concerned if somebody's telling me like right off the bat how much money they make. But I mean, if a man is what they call high value, or he has businesses and things, there are other ways that you'll be able to tell, that they have things going on. They may talk about some of the I got to go on business. I'm doing a business deal. I'm doing X, Y, Z. And then as far as, the back to the scammers and stuff, you also got to look at where you are. Cause see, she met him out here in the ATL, baby. And I'm a new transplant to the ATL, but I have heard some stories about these scammers here in the ATL, because it's legendary that you have to really, people like to, we used to say back in the day, style and profile and flaws, but then don't have no substance behind it. So you got to look at where you are. You got to look at the garden, the atmosphere, the ecosphere, all that where you at. But I think, if somebody say, oh, I make so and so and so and so and so, and if they talking a lot, all that rah-rah, you got to that might raise a flag, because they say money talks, but wealth whispers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I found that men who actually have it are more reserved, or they look regular. You don't even know that. You don't even know.
You always look at the shoes, though. The shoes, it might be a nice watch here and there, but they're probably not going to be as flashy as the next person. Because what they say, what is it? Warren Buffett lived in like a little patio home for years, and this man's building
right?
Yeah. So
I wonder if Atlanta is like the capital of Scamerica. Atlanta might be one of those places. I used to live in Atlanta. Atlanta might be one of those places that's like the capital of Scamerica.
I lived in Atlanta for 4 months.
Lagos is on the other hemisphere. They the capital over there in Nigeria. So let me stop.
Okay, so I want to go in quickly about ways that people can financially protect themselves, whether it's in dating, whether it's in marriage. So first thing you want to do, I don't believe in running a background check super right away, because your dating process alone should filter out a bunch of people. Like 90%, the dating statistics show 90% of people that you meet, you won't even get past a third date with. So that's the statistic on that. So save your coins, save your little $20 per background check until you reach the point where you might actually be exclusive with this person. Now, when it comes to finances, I do believe that finances should not be commingled up until marriage. So when it comes to bank accounts and things like that, I don't believe that they should be commingled up until you guys are married and you guys decide what is your financial profile and arrangement. Some people prefer to have separate bank accounts completely. Some people prefer to have a joint account for the joint bills and then have separate accounts. Some people like to throw it all in one pot. You guys have to decide that what works best for you and your financial agreements in that way. Now, as far as assets is concerned, if you have a business, those assets will protect you in some cases, but then I would suggest consult a lawyer around whether or not you need to put that in a trust or estate planning purposes, like what kind of protections you have. This also goes not just from a financial standpoint, but from a legal standpoint. And then now you go into state. Some states, certain things are community property. There are no fault divorce states. Some states that whatever the appreciation of the assets or the business during the course of the marriage is considered. So it gets very nuanced. So if you ain't got nothing, or you might have something in the future, it might be worth a little investment to get that consultation. And I think I always say to people, do the premarital counseling, because those are questions that are those financial questions, if you have been avoiding that in the relationship, it will definitely come up in the premarital counseling. So I've done premarital counseling before. So those questions are definitely brought up. So I think that is my first recommendation. Second thing is to determine, do you have any assets that you want to protect, or should an event of divorce would have some kind of consideration? I think in dating and relationships, a lot of people avoid what I will call the negotiation parts of relationships because it can be very unpleasant. However, you want to go into things being on the same page. Now, if you have trinkets, important documents, money somewhere, you can always open up a safety deposit box at a bank and stash that over there. You can also have accounts in multiple different places and stash that over there. You might want to consult like a tax attorney or a tax CPA to discuss those options. But most people, I would say, are not on the financial level for that to even matter. But a question, we're going to reset first, and then I'll ask the question for you guys. Should women have emergency fund situations for situations like this? But before we get into that topic, hi, we are Fly Nubian Money, and we are your co-queens today. My name is Athena. We have Erica Lewis, Faith in Transition, and Dr. Charm, honey. And we are discussing not letting love cost you, because love theoretically shouldn't cost a thing. Okay, and today's topic, we are also giving you guys a lovely freebie called Financial Love Making, written by Dr. Boyce Watkins. It can help you figure out how to merge your assets in a partner in ways that feel good. So if you are triggered today by our discussion, you want to text the word Queens to 87948 so you get that book, so you can have a good framework to how to figure out how to move financially in your dating and marriage process. So I'm going to pivot to you, Erica. Should women have an emergency fund for situations like this? And also in your relationship, when you departed, was it easy for you to depart because you didn't commingle the money and you had your own financial security so you can just up and leave? Because I know a lot of women stay because of lack of financial security.
You know, I had actually sold my house, and we were living in sin. I was shacking. That was my fault. That was I took bad girl. I was shacking. And what took me so long to leave, once I just woke up one day and I was just like, I wasn't happy. It took me so long to leave because of my things. I had my furniture, my this, my that. And it was things that I had accumulated over years. I had a house. And I woke up one day and I realized my value is not in these things. I can either sit here among my things and be devalued, or get out of here, walk away from all this stuff and repurchase it and maintain my value. And that is what I decided to do. It hurt like heck to walk away from 20 years of stuff that I'd had in a house. However, I'm so free and happy, I don't know what to do with myself. Yes, but because we did not have money overlapping, yeah, I was able to make some moves he knew nothing about. I was able to move money left to right, up and down. He knew nothing about. He didn't know I was leaving until I moved out on September 1st. He found out August 30th. I was moving.
So the things that were left in the house, were there, because sometimes there can be issues when you're living together, because a lot of people are cohabitating and they don't know the rental legal house laws. Like if you move into your house and
Girl,
you do something.
Let me tell you how good God is. I don't know if you heard about it, but this is Hurricane Ida happened in New Jersey. I'm in New Jersey. Hurricane Ida happened. And I was moving out the next day, and the whole few cities just flooded. And when I went to go get my last bags that I'd left in the closet, the apartment had flooded. So everything that he got to keep, he had to throw out. Can we just give God a wave and a praise?
Oh my God. That is some divine justice.
I mean, you know, that's between him and God. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But nothing to do with that. But I will say,
was he resistant for you to get your things, though? Was that the issue?
Yep. And he, you know, he said that I want this, I want that. I said, you know, that's not a problem. You, sir, you can have it. I just took my clothes, all the artifacts and everything that I purchased when I worked on the ship and had been everywhere from Papua New Guinea to Australia and Brazil, all those things. He felt like those things were his. Sir, not a problem. You don't get me. And when I didn't like it either. I was upset.
I don't like a petty man like that.
I don't like a petty man. And that's a whole nother story. That's a whole other story. But you know, I was able to walk away because my thing is this: when you start putting value, that's your test. Am I going to put the value in those things, or am I going to value me? Because if I had stayed, what would I even be sitting here today? When somebody, you don't know. I was never abused. I was never hit. I was never accosted, but I didn't like the way you were talking to me. I didn't like the way you said that. I didn't like the way. So sometimes a person will talk to you a certain way to see how closer they can get to doing other things. And you know what? I believe in hard stops, and I did a hard stop, and it was time to go. And I said, if this is my sacrifice, what I have to do is walk away from this stuff. That's what I did. And he didn't have it long.
Wow. Listen, I might have to buy Faith in Transition today. Dr. Charm, our medical expert here on the panel. I'm going to pivot this to you because I know 45% of women experience financial stress. Right? That's another stat I put up in my training. And as a doctor, what would you think women in these situations or Shirley might be experiencing with the fallout of this relationship and her scammer husband? Do you feel that any suggestions on how women can overcome shame and emotional distress from a financially embarrassing relationship?
Okay. Well, I did want to go back to something you had said, Athena, about the third date or something, doing the background check.
90% of people don't even reach the third date in dating.
Yeah, and you know, they said that the average date that people have sex on is the third date. So just think about, like, we're having sex on dates before we're checking to see if the person is a criminal. So okay, but and then I did want to touch real quick on the joint finances. Susie Orman, all these financial experts, they always say you should have a joint account as a couple to pay bills out of, and then have your separate account. And then based on the percentage of like who makes more, that determines the percentage of what's contributed to that joint account. So I always thought that was sound advice. Now, as far as, how can women rebound from getting scammed or being a victim of a charlatan? Therapy. I don't know how many times I can say it. And then also having a good support system, because I went through a very, very turbulent relationship about, was that 2019? So what is it, 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago? And I remember one of my good girlfriends, y'all, she stayed on the phone with me for 8 hours. 8 hours. Okay. And that was towards the end of the relationship. And thank God I got out of it relatively unscathed. But 8 hours. So you got to have your support system, whether it be your friends, your family, and definitely therapy. Definitely.
It's interesting you say that, Dr. Charm, because I remember Oprah had a quote saying that, one of the reasons she loved Gail was the therapy that she never had to pay for, basically, because their conversations and their relationship helped her through so much. Now, with what has just happened, right? Because this came up in my mind. We're going to spice it up a little bit today. Okay. And I want you guys to sound off in the chat. We are living in the age of level up, manosphere, red pill, blue pill, high value, low value, great value. Okay, we're living in these times. The level up girls say this will never happen to them because they're only hypergamous. They ain't nobody. They ain't nobody broke or nobody looking the cloud for them because they're doing their climb upward.
No dusties,
no dust bunnies. Okay, no booga woogas. No financial leeches. So, Erica, I'm gonna talk to you. Does this fuel the argument of the level up queens? Okay, does this make them say, "See, this is why you cannot date these men trying to financially climb up off of you, and you have to be hypergamous because these are the issues you run into"? Do they have a point?
The level up girlies, you know what? And I'm a lot older than the level up girlies. I'm like level up girlies mama. And I always say, you trying to level up on somebody, please don't ever think that they're not trying to do the same thing to you. Please don't ever think that, because what you're trying to do to them, that same energy can always be brought back around. So you have to be so careful, because people will make plans for you. Sometimes a man, you got the level up girl is like, yeah, I'm gonna level up off of him. Yeah, she got plans for him, but he has plans for her, because you use him to level up. And then what happens when he snatches all that level up away? What are you doing? Are you meeting the friends? Are you meeting the bankers? Are you making investments? Are you learning along the way? Like I said, I'm huge on accountability. So yeah, you can use that man to level up to a certain place, but can you stay there once you get there?
Can you stay there once you get there? Listen. All right, Dr. Charm, I know, honey. Because I know you and me love Shira. What do you... Does she have a point? Does she have a point? That's why you don't. Okay, so because the other side of this is he was perpetrating that he was high value, quote unquote. So even if you're trying to be hypergamous, do you have to have an extra layer of vetting protection?
You gotta vet them. And here's the thing, though, and that's why I said where Shirley got caught up is because if the rumor is true that she met him through Steve, then I'm giving Steve the side eye. And that's probably why they had to go back on the radio and allegedly backtrack that she allegedly met him through Steve.
Absolutely.
Because you introducing me to a man that was trigamous, I'm making up a word. Okay, because he was beyond bigamy. He was married to 3 women at the same time. So yeah. It was a little harder because he's moving in these circles. He had the barbershop. So he had a physical proof of income. You know, he had a business a brick and mortar business at that she could go look at. But baby, you know, I'm calling Miss Athena, I'm calling the CPA. Let me see the book, especially when by the time you get ready to get married. But I've heard women that, you know, they're asking for proof of funds, social security numbers. And, you know, think about I watched all these Downton Abbey and the Gilded Age and all that. And I remember there was a scene in the Gilded Age where the man, you know, he was interested in marrying a woman and being with her. And he went to her father and he came with what? Proof of funds. He brought his proof of funds to the meeting with her dad in the drawing room. And he said, look, see, if we would harken back to some of those old-fashioned things, I mean, everything wasn't good back in the olden days. I mean, we were enslaved. But some of those olden things are proof of funds. Talk to the family. The families know one another. Because that's another thing. With all these people moving across different cities. I mean, I've lived in 3 or 4 different states. But if people, you know, if you know the families and they getting together, you know, it's harder to scam folks when you know all their people.
And that's another thing when women are older, when a woman is more mature, she's in her 50s, her 60s, or her 70s, and she's grown, she necessarily doesn't feel like she needs to introduce him to friends and family, or she doesn't have to introduce to the children. No, you really do. You need to be doing more introducing than you would have in your younger years, because you, as an older woman, we are more vulnerable, to be completely honest. You can be more vulnerable. You may not still have your parents. Your siblings have their own lives and they live across the country. And so, you know, you do have to rely on friends. You do have to rely on your children. And especially if you're an older woman that doesn't have children, it is so important that you have your friends involved in a huge aspect of what is going on in your dating life. So older women that are single, that are out here vetting and dating, please don't ever feel like you are too grown to let somebody know who you are dating and what is going on.
Yeah, because we don't want to end up on first 48, yeah.
What I will say is that scamming is across all tax brackets, because I feel like there's this image that scamming is only for broke, dusty people. Look at Kamora Lee and her husband, Tim Lesnar. He scammed money out of a fund.
Like $30 million, $50
yes.
million.
And he was another one that wasn't divorced, and he and his ex-wife went in on the not divorced thing.
Yes, because I think they had a conversation because Kamora wanted to make sure that he was divorced, because Kamora probably know a lot of these men scamming. So she was like, let me go to the source. Are you still divorced or not? And she was a part of that as well. So she tried to escape it as much as possible. And with
Kamora's got money to hire, like she got money to hire like the firms, the security firms.
But the one beauty,
or does she? Or does she?
The from what I've gleaned from what she has said, Russell's not really doing anything. So what she's living off of is like her own ventures. And one thing I do teach in actually my women's wealth training is that the women that seem to rebound are the ones who set up their own businesses or were working on their own talent. Because the other thing too is, look at Portia Williams, Portia Gubadia. She went quick. One day they woke up, oh, we together, we about to get married, we about to do all these things, and comes to find out he has all kind of immigration from.
in the country, he don't even have the correct visa. I mean, and my thing is that goes back 20 years with Simon, and the government hadn't caught it.
We can't let Portia off the hook, that she went in this woman's house and picked up this bag of trash. So I mean, she's accountable for some of the things that she's taken her own self through. I mean, like, let's be honest. And and now there seems to be a huge overflow of women having to pay alimony. What is it? Mary, Jill Scott, Halle Berry is paying alimony and child support to every man she done been with, dated, slept with, and divorced. It's just ridiculous. So, I mean, just because you have it doesn't mean that you're supposed to get rid of it. Women need to have an understanding that there's a difference. You have to know how to guard your heart, because sometimes guarding your heart will guard your wallet.
That's what Proverbs says. But see, Portia is a little bit smarter than the average because they did get a prenup, but now Simon is trying to challenge the prenup, saying that she just got this big deal with to go back to housewives, and he's saying, well, that happened after the marriage, and now I want the prenup to be reevaluated. And same thing with Mary J. Mary J had a prenup too, and her husband was able to challenge it. So it's like, just because you get a prenup doesn't mean that it's gonna hold up. And that's
so true. There's ways to bypass a prenup. There are ways to bypass a prenup. I want to pose this question to the group, though. If you are in a situation with a man who financially scammed you, or there was some infidelity or deception of some form, should there be a law that says a woman does not have to pay alimony?
That's married by fraud. That's like a fraudulent marriage, and that could be grounds for annulment. Because what's her name, Jennifer? Was it Jennifer Lewis that got her stuff annulled, or was it Tashina? One of those that they got the marriage annulled because the man was such a scammer. And I think that was I think it was Jennifer Lewis, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. So the thing too, back to the alimony, back to the level up girls. They say, listen, if you wasn't dating no Dusty who needed your money, you wouldn't have to pay alimony. Do the level up girls have a point in that situation as well?
Baby, honey. And here's the thing. That's true. Now, if you're not springing on any bills, it's easier. I think it's hard to get away with. But then look at Risa Tisa. Risa Tisa said part of the seduction of Legion was that she wasn't paying any of the bill. He was paying all the major bills. She said all she had to pay was, I think, her car note and a couple of little credit card bills or something. He was paying all the major bills. So you got to watch that too. You got to watch all of it.
All right. So
back to what I was talking about, that when you watch the money, watch how it's being funneled, those expensive meals. If somebody's able to finance all your bills right off the bat, that is a red flag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go to final thoughts, ladies. We discussed a lot. We shared a lot. What are your final thoughts around this situation, about being scammed into love? I will start with you, Erica, first, and then also please share with the audience where they can find you.
My heart goes out to Shirley Strawberry, I just think she just, was an older woman, had been single for X amount of years, had adult children, had grandchildren, and she just wanted that love for herself. And I really feel bad for her, but I think we really need to start, like I said, doing internal audits and having an understanding as to what is it that I need, and what and who can complement me to what I'm bringing to the table. Because sometimes, the relationship that you want is not the relationship that you need. So you can find me on faithandtransition.com, and you can find me on all the social medias at Miss Erica Renee.
All right. Now, Dr. Charm, please let the lovely people know where they can find you and your final thoughts on our topic today.
Okay. Well, I misspoke about it being Jennifer Lewis. It was Tasha Smith. So Tasha Smith, that was on Why Did I Get Married? Why Did I Get Married To? The one was fussing with her husband all the time. So she got her marriage annulled. The judge said he was such a scammer that they had to annul that thing. But look, you can also avoid some of this by going and getting you a tarot reading, seeing a good medium and spiritual advisor, which I am in that number. I got my text number up there next to my name. You can text me at 404-832-5179 for your own personal reading. And my final thoughts are, ladies, you got to be careful in these streets. You got to have your friend group tight, your therapy tight, and your background checks tight. And like I said, have your spiritual advisor tight too. Have it all circled up and shored up.
Yes, for the spiritual advisor, honey. Now, what I will say is this: if you are a woman watching this and you want to financially level up and make sure that you protect your own wealth so you do not end up like Shirley and all the other women we discussed, you can find me, Athena Gardner, and CPA at wewealthwomen.com. I have courses, coaching, and my podcast, the We Wealth Women podcast, available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. If you are interested in getting all my information, you can hit my website on the screen. Now, if you have joined us today, thank you for sticking through us as a loyal subscriber. We appreciate you so much. Hopefully you were able to glean so many gems so love does not have to scam you, because according to Christina Milian, love shouldn't cost a thing. We are Fly Nubian Money. We help you master your mindset and maximize your income. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are also on Spotify. So if you want to listen to us on the go, honey, you can find Fly Nubian Money on Spotify and listen to your lovely queens. Before you go, make sure you text the word Queens, that's QUEENS, to 87948, so you do not miss when we are live, and to get today's free offer for Financial Lovemaking, a book written by Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm Athena, and Erica and Dr. Charm. We are all your queens for today, and we hope to see you in the next one.
Bitcoin is going berserk. But that's a no-brainer. Everybody knew Bitcoin was gonna, everybody that paid attention knew Bitcoin was gonna do this. It's actually over 70,000 now. At some point it will cross 80, in my opinion. I believe at some point it will cross 90 and 100 and everything else. I think Bitcoin is one of the clear investments out there. Although, there's nothing that's guaranteed. There's nothing that's guaranteed. And I hope you all really remember that. Never forget that, right? So even if someone says, oh yeah, I really, really think this is going to happen, that does not mean it's going to definitely happen. Even as a professor, I can't predict what the stock market's going to do. I can't predict what any asset's going to do. However, there is a lot of evidence to say that if something is going to explode, it's going to be Bitcoin. And also, most of the indicators in terms of where the market momentum is going is pushing Bitcoin upwards. So if you've been consistently buying, congratulations. You're probably seeing this right now. And so you're well on your way to wealth, in my opinion. And so anyway, the one thing I wanted to kind of hit on today too, had to do with something that was crossing my mind. I put something on my Twitter, and I really believe this kind of thing. And I think I said something, sometimes I say stuff in a way that irks people. I don't know. But I said, I really believe that every parent should set a high standard for their daughters so that some guy can't impress her by taking her on a weekend trip to Atlanta. And then of course people come in and say, well, what's wrong with going to Atlanta? And why do you hate poor people? And I don't hate poor people. That's not it. I've been on many trips to Atlanta, but I really kind of I was just thinking about standards and how what you do with your kids financially really does set a standard. What they expect from you in terms of character and integrity goes a long way in terms of what they're going to expect from men that they interact with, especially your little girls. And a lot of times you just see, things that make me kind of sad as a father, like women kind of wanting, like really desiring men that just don't have good character. If you think about it, if you think about Diddy and Cassie, for example, which is kind of the talk of the town right now, there were a lot of women that were happy for Cassie to be dating Diddy. They thought she'd won the prize. They thought that she was looking good. She was in the driver's seat of her life. And girl, won the prize. You got the man everybody wanted. And that's that's just not the case. A lot of in economics we call that the winner's curse. There's something in economics called the winner's curse, and what the winner's curse is the winner's curse is where you think you won but really you lost. And, it's when you compete for something that you're dreaming about, but actually you kind of have the wrong dream. And effectively, that is kind of what I see when it comes to the stuff with Diddy and Cassie and all that is like, I don't know. I mean, in hindsight, do you regret this relationship? And how would you have felt if I'd come from the future, if I'd gone into your life 15 years ago and said, don't do this, like, don't date this guy, there's going to be bad things are going to happen? Would you have said, thank you for protecting me from something that was going to harm me? Or would you have just wanted to learn things the hard way? And I just hate to see that. It really makes me sad. And so actually what I wanted to do in terms of helping you understand how these financial standards can play a part in how your children see the world, let me pull up some data for you. Yeah, so because this is this is important. So when you're talking about setting financial standards for your daughters, let's talk about daughters in particular, right? So I know we have something similar when it comes to sons. I don't think the dynamic's the same because I don't believe boys and girls are the same. I know we have debates about, transgender and all that, but I just assume I believe that things are a little bit different. So when you talk about standards, here is some research that I found that kind of talks about what the standards actually mean and what they actually do when it comes to the quality of life, the ability of that little girl that you raised to have a healthy life. And I think about this, especially if you talk about, say, a guy like Diddy, I say, gosh, that's so interesting that this guy is known for beating up a woman and he has daughters. And I wonder how he feels. I wonder if you asked him, if you said, would you want your daughter to date a man like you? And I wonder if the answer would be yes or no. If the answer is yes, that would make you question, like, what kind of man are you? What you really would want some guy to, beat your daughter, kick her in the face right when she's trying to get on the elevator. Um, and then if he says no, it says, well, why would you want to be the kind of man that you wouldn't want your daughter to date? Because now your daughter is going to grow up, pay attention now. Your daughter's going to grow up looking up to men like you. She's going to grow up thinking my daddy's a great guy and I want a guy like my dad. And so, so the question becomes, are you perpetuating these curses? And I think money's behind all of this, right? I think that money distorted hip hop. Money made rappers and these black men, mostly black men, into something other, and women too now. I mean, some of the female rappers, unfortunately, have kind of fallen into this trap. And so there are these people that have billions of dollars, and it's not us. We don't have billions of dollars to invest in things like this. They invest billions of dollars into these image distorting false realities of black people, where for many years you had a whole culture around complete disrespect, disregard, and harm and assault toward women. If you go back and you look at things I was writing 20 years ago, you'll know that back in 2002, 2003, I was saying that, if all these, liberation movements and Me Too movements and all that, when they eventually start to reckon and really study what's happening in the world of hip hop, it's going to be really bad for these guys. These guys are going to be hiding in a closet because they're going to dig up stuff that they did back in the 90s and the 2000s that was just clearly inappropriate. And I remember, because I remember one time when I was a professor at Syracuse, and I remember listening to the rapper Exhibit, and he had a song with Snoop Dogg, and in the song they deliberately talked about assaulting a woman sexually and getting away with it because they were so rich and powerful. Right. And so this became the fantasy, the myth, the false reality that they were led to believe would be true. But they didn't know history. They didn't understand when Malcolm X used to say that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then he'll lock you up for being drunk. Shout out to Malcolm X. Yeah, his birthday was 2 days ago, and I should have said that during class, and I apologize for not bringing that up. And so really, I feel like in a way, what's interesting about some of the hip hop culture is from a financial standpoint is that they kind of have this way of lulling you to sleep, kind of have this way of making you think you're the boss, making you think you're in the driver's seat when really you're not the boss. Clive Davis is the boss, or Universal Records or Sony Music is the boss, and but they want you to think you're the boss, and then you go out and you operate like you think you're the boss, and then next thing you know, consequences come, and then you're held fully accountable for every single thing that happened under your watch. And that's what I sort of see when I see these things. So let me grab this research for you guys. So one thing that they say that happens when you don't set a good standard for your daughter. Let's talk about us in terms of us being the kinds of parents that we want our children to admire in terms of, and let's start financially, right? In terms of setting those standards and why that's important. So they said that number one, when you talk specifically about the father-daughter relationship, there's a study that says that daughters who have a strong relationship with their father have an easier time with emotional health and stress management. Daughters with strong supportive relationships with their fathers tend to have better emotional health and stress management skills. These daughters typically have higher cortisol levels, which buffer against stress, leading to healthier responses to stressors in adulthood. This emotional resilience translates into more stable and satisfying romantic relationships. And I just think about just maybe about 3 or 4 days ago, and I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning this, but one of my girls called me or she texted me. She said, I'm really having a bad day today. Do you have time to talk? And we got together and we talked for a while and we talked out what she was feeling, what she was going through. And then she sent me a text saying, thank you so much. This really made a difference for me. And it made me happy because I was able to be there for her. But it really, I thought about that interaction when I read this study that the fathers, we kind of can bring something there. I don't know if it's our confidence. I don't know what it is, but we bring something that adds value. And that's a type of, by the way, that's a type of wealth, right? If you are emotionally unstable, if you can't, if you're not disciplined, or if you're constantly self-medicating because you're constantly dealing with anxiety and depression and all these other things, it's very, very hard for you to have the discipline required for you to achieve your goals, build wealth, and do anything that you want to do. And in fact, when we study in our Black Financial Therapy department in the Black Business School, what we realize is that emotionally unstable people just have a hard time building wealth because there are too many leaky buckets of pockets that can drain their wealth. Because if you're self-medicating, well, medicine costs money. If you're self-medicating through wine bottles and liquor costs money. If you're self-medicating through drugs cost money. If you're self-medicating through sex, well, bad relationships and dirty, short-term, temporary, nasty, worthless relationships with people that you're just trying to have sex with, that can cost you money. I know a woman that makes $300,000 a year who got robbed by one of her guys. She called him a hobosexual, one of the hobosexuals, which is these guys that look for rich Black women to sleep with. So they can get their bills paid. So this hobosexual took her credit card and was buying clothes for some other girl that he was messing around with. And she found out because she went through her credit card statement, right? So you can go on and on, right? There's so many different ways that emotional instability can be costly. For example, when you buy luxury items, there's studies to say that what you're really buying is your self-esteem. Because a person who has a good, really strong self-worth doesn't really need the luxury item in order to feel better about themselves. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who buys a luxury item is bad or not smart or making a mistake or emotionally unbalanced. What I'm saying is that if you're emotionally unbalanced, it's easier to sell you the luxury item because basically what I'm doing is I'm saying, you're nobody. You're nobody now. You're a regular old nobody right now. But if I give you this Gucci purse or I sell you this Mercedes, well, now you're somebody. Now you're important. Now you're looking fly. Now you're looking good. And people who don't care about impressing people that that don't matter, they keep their money in their pocket. They say, "Why would I spend money with you just to get whatever public perception you think I can earn by buying this item from you?" Do you understand? It goes back to, I kid you not, I remember when I was in college and I was invited to pledge every single fraternity, every single one of them reached out to me and asked me to join. And it wasn't because I was the coolest guy in the world. It wasn't because I was, the life of the party or anything like that. I'm not that guy. They all wanted me to be in their fraternity because I was known as the guy who had the highest grade point average of all the Black students on campus. I was known as the smart guy, even though I don't think I was the smart guy. I would say I was maybe I was the hardworking guy. Maybe I was the disciplined guy. I don't know, but I wouldn't say I was the smart guy, but I was known for that. And so when they all invited me to join and to pledge, I thought about being an alpha for a minute, and it was an interesting experience because the guy that was an alpha, I think he was honestly hitting on me, and at that time, it didn't even hit my consciousness that another man would be trying to get with me like that. It didn't even cross my brain, And then I think about 5 years later, I look back and I said, "Oh my God, I think this guy I think he liked me." Whoa, what do I do with that information? That's weird. No disrespect. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody, LGBT, everybody's welcome here, but it was weird for me because I'd never been in that situation, that space, and then it made sense. I was like, oh, that's why he was calling me all the time, and just for no reason, right? So anyway, but not to say that was why I didn't want to be an alpha. My brother's an alpha, so shout out to all the alphas. And then my friend, I remember my friend that was a Kappa who tried to get me to pledge Kappa, and I was like, they kind of pretty. They got the little canes and twirling canes. I can't twirl no cane. And then there was another one The blue, they wear the blue. I forgot with the I can't Phi Beta Sigma. Phi Beta Sigma, that's right. Yeah, I remember and I thought about that, because I liked the guy who invited me. His name was Daryl Van Meter. He died of a heart attack at 19 years old on the basketball court. It was crazy. I used to play basketball with Daryl, and I wasn't there that day, but one day he just died of like on the basketball court of a heart attack. 19 years old. It was, I remember that day. But anyway, and then I think I decided to pledge Q, and I was gonna become a Q dog. Can you imagine me as a Q dog or Mega Man, whichever one I would have been? And so I was gonna pledge because my roommate was a Q, and I remember that when I kind of looked at the guys that were already in the fraternity, I felt kind of bad. I did not feel like I did not respect the guys the men that I saw. I did not see them. I remember I think in terms of thinking like an investor, one thing about thinking like an investor is that you apply this to everything in your life. An investor mindset, which is really why we're here. This is what economic awareness or financial consciousness looks like. An investor mindset means you don't look at where things are, you look at where they're going. And the thing that a lot of young people don't understand is that who you are doesn't matter. What matters is what you're becoming. What you're doing every day determines what you're becoming. That tells me where you're going. That tells me what direction your car is headed. So if you're a person that, lays in the bed all day, smokes weed and plays video games and watches Netflix, well, that's what you're becoming. If you're a person who gets up every day, busts their butt, you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing, you're constantly saving and investing and all this other and building, well, then we know what you're going to be in 5 or 10 years, right? Because all your life really is this accumulation of thousands of little choices that you've made along the way. So I looked at these guys and I just saw things that kind of bothered me, like they drank a lot. They drank a whole lot. And I didn't drink at all, but they would be drunk all the time. My roommate was drunk every weekend. And I just didn't feel like that was good because in the 90s, a lot of black men were going to prison. And I didn't want to get drunk and do something stupid and end up getting locked up because wasn't nobody gonna bail me out. I didn't have no plan B. And then also they did this weird thing where they had a party where they picked 2 girls up on the side of the road. This is the type of stuff in our culture that I think we got to just kind of talk about because it destroys people's lives. But they picked up these 2 girls on the side of the road, and they told them that if you want to ride home, you have to do things for us at our party, if you know what I mean. And so they had this party. I kid you not, this is a true story. One girl was in one room offering one service, if you know what I mean. The other girl was in the other room offering another service. And I remember thinking, back then, I mean, I'm 20. I'm trying to figure life out, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. That does not seem good. Because I was thinking about things like diseases and all that, but even criminality, right? Somebody can come back 10 years later and say, oh, well, you assaulted me, and now you're going to prison for 30 years, or now whatever, right? So, long story short, I remember just thinking, I see a whole lot of drinking, a whole lot of whoring and a whole lot of partying, but I don't see a whole lot of studying. I don't see a whole lot of hard work. I don't see a whole lot of building here, right? And I remember, so that was the thing that kind of got me to say, I don't think this is the right move. And again, this is that part of the culture. I believe other people put this on us, and I think we have to address that because it's very anti-wealth. It's very anti-family. Remember, anti-family is anti-wealth. Anti-family is anti-wealth, and it's also anti-black. So if you want to destroy black wealth, just keep destroying black families. If you want to destroy black families, keep destroying black culture. If you want to destroy black culture, keep destroying the black male. And that's kind of what's been happening. They've been destroying the black male systematically in a lot of ways. Even back in the 60s, Dan Rather, I was watching a documentary about Dan Rather, the great newsman, and he talked about how Vietnam War, most of the guys in the platoon were mostly black, a lot of black males. And so I just think it just goes way back, just in terms of what people have kind of done to us. So long story short, I remember just going back to the self-esteem thing. I remember the deal was like I was supposed to pay a bunch of money. Again, I'm a very logical thinker, right? I'm a mathematician. So 2 + 2 is always going to be 4 to me. So the deal was you pay us $600 or $700, which was more money than I had at the time. I did not have a lot of money to burn like that. And they were like, pay us a bunch of money. And then for 6 weeks, we're going to make your life a living hell. And then when you're done, and I was like, well, what do I get when I'm done? They're like, well, you get to be one of us. And I'm like, so I get accepted. So I'm paying you money and letting you torture me, letting you ruin my life and my grade point average and only God knows what. For what? For the esteem of knowing that I can be part of your group. Well, yeah, 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 yeah. You get to be one, you get to be a Q dog or an alpha or whatever, right? No disrespect to the fraternities, but it did not compute to me. And I was like, wait, so I get to be your friend, but I'm already your friend. I already know you. I see you. I say hi to you. I don't need to wear the same colors as you for us to be cool. Like we don't have to wear the same colors. I don't, and I really don't even really want to see you much more than I already do. So where's the benefit? Where's the win? Where's the ROI? I saw no ROI. The only ROI I saw was you get to wear the jacket and be part of the group. And I saw that more as a self-esteem thing. And what I really found was interesting was I was able to save a lot of money because my self-esteem was already pretty much intact. Sure, I didn't have everything figured out. There were some things I had fears like everyone else. I had, challenges and hurdles and hills I had to climb, but I was very comfortable being by myself and very comfortable being who I was. Yeah, I know I'm not the coolest guy in the party, but I don't want to be the coolest guy in the party because the coolest guy in the party looks stupid to me sometimes. You're acting stupid so that you can be the coolest guy in the party, and that's still true. It doesn't matter. Even now, 30 years later, the internet is just a big high school where people want to be the coolest instead of being instead of actually being the person that has the most substance. People want to impress you by likes and shares and clicks and views, and they do really embarrassing things, really humiliating things, degrading things, goofball, idiotic things to get likes and shares and views. And that, it to me, is not a win for you. In my opinion, a win is when, if I want to impress you, maybe I impress you with my substance. I want to impress you with what's in my brain to say, look at how well I know finance. Let me help you. Or I want to impress you by helping change your life or say something that's really profound for you that's going to benefit you. That's meaningful to me. Me getting you to pay attention to me because I did the best TikTok dance, or if I'm a woman, I'm showing lots of booty and I get lots of likes and shares for that. That to me is indicative of a deeper self-esteem problem that's very, very costly to you. So what I'm saying to you is that going back and I'll finish up on those studies in terms of how it can affect our girls, but it affects our boys as well, is that people that have their self-esteem intact don't have to engage in these horrific exchanges with the world to get these false senses of validation from other people, right? Like a little girl who's raised with full confidence, full self-esteem is not going to keep investing her body into ratchet, disgusting, disease-ridden men just so that she can feel a little bit of love. She's already got love. She's got a big stock of, she's wealthy. She's wealthy. She's emotionally wealthy already. Let me know if you follow what I'm saying. I'm talking about wealth. Do y'all understand that I'm talking about wealth here? I hope you get what I'm saying. Because I know I sound like I'm not talking about wealth, but I really am. If you're wealthy with love, then you're not love starved. If you're love starved, then you go and you are giving things away that are valuable so that you can get the thing that you need. Do you understand? So the children, here's the thing. I think that the best job we can do for our parents, or sorry, as parents, not for our parents, as parents, is to make sure our children are not starved of the things that they need. So they don't have to go buy these things by giving away things that are very valuable, starting with money. People will give money away. Oh, I'll spend, I just made 300,000. And instead of using the 300,000 to build generational wealth, I want to spend 300,000 getting this dumbass European car from a bunch of white people who don't even like me, just so I can feel better about myself. Now I'm somebody because I'm driving this overpriced car that's declining, depreciating in value every single mile that I drive it. Right. Or I'm going to go and spend my money at the club and throw it around and put it in stripper thongs so I can be the coolest guy in the room, even though I look like Bozo the Clown right now. I look stupid because I'm throwing away my kids' generational wealth. Or you can just keep going on. Going back to the civil rights movement. No disrespect, but I'd never understood this idea that I'm going to go and get beat upside the head sitting at a white man's lunch counter, begging him to take my money. I saw this picture of the great James Baldwin, and he was standing in front of an ice cream shop that was owned by a white guy, and the white guy was peeking out the window, like, who is this Negro in front of my ice cream shop, and why is he taking a picture here? And at the top of the ice cream shop door, it said, "This is the colored entrance," right? So they had an entrance for colored people, an entrance for white people, and there's some white liberal guy who's doing commentary on the picture, and he talks about the contrast in the picture. I got to put it on my Instagram, the video up, because I got to go find it. But he's basically saying, like, look at the contrast in this picture. He says, here we have James Baldwin, one of the great literary minds of his generation, who is being dehumanized because he's standing in front of this sign where they won't let him in because of the color of his skin. Right? It was something like that. Like here's this great man, this giant of a man, James Baldwin, and he's being dehumanized by the fact that this ice cream shop has a colored only door and a whites only door. And I was like, no, he's not being dehumanized. Why does he have to go eat the white man's ice cream anyway when he's probably going to spit in it? What would make you think, how in the hell if he's so powerful, what in the world makes us think that he would hand over his humanity, the right to dehumanize him to a person who clearly is not his friend? There is nothing beneficial about him being allowed to walk through the front door of another man's ice cream shop and give him all his money. In my view, the sign didn't dehumanize him. It only dehumanizes you if something inside of you makes you feel that in order for you to be a complete human being, you have to go inside this bigot's ice cream shop. I don't want to go in his ice cream shop. I don't. He can't take nothing away from me because I don't even want what he got. In order for somebody to take something from you, you have to give it to them in the first place. In order for them to take something from you, they have to at least have something that you desire. And when you desire things, you have to understand, why do I desire these things? And let me tell you, there's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. When you desire things, that makes you beholden to the people or the entities that control the thing that you desire. So that's why the Buddhists are among the smartest people on the planet, because if you know anything about Buddhism, which I don't know very much, but one thing I do know is that they do have one principle that pretty much says you should desire nothing. That desiring nothing is one of the keys to freedom. So I'm not saying you shouldn't desire anything. That's your choice, but you got to be real careful about falling in this trap of hungering for something, lusting for something, wanting something, especially when the thing that you want is coming from people who are gonna extract a high rent in order for you to have that thing. So you either A, have to train yourself not to want it, or B, if you do want it, you better get your own supply. So that little girl, she either, if she feels like she needs to be loved by a thug in order to feel complete, in order for her self-esteem to be intact, I need to be one of Future's 18, the rapper Future. I need to be one of his 18 babies mamas in order for me to feel loved and complete. And the Future says, sure, just let me inject my dirty penis in your body and give you every disease I have and then abandon you and your child and traumatize the both of you. Sure, I'll give you that in exchange for your self-esteem. If she feels that way, that's a problem. That's a deficit. That's a deficiency. And that is so to me, that deficiency will be resolved by either A, having plenty of love, of stockpile of love and support from somebody that really cares about her, like her dad. Your dad is, the dads are so important. I mean, we're supposed to be that one man that loves you and will die for you and isn't asking for something from you. So you either have a stockpile of that love and support, or she's got to be in a position where she's convinced herself, no, I don't want what you got. I don't need that. I don't need that thing from you. If I need it, I don't need it from you. So if James Baldwin needs ice cream that bad, that he's got to go into a racist man's ice cream shop just to feel like a human being or just to have ice cream, that would be a psychological deficiency on his part. That's a self-esteem issue. If I'm talking to James Baldwin, I say, let's go get some ice cream somewhere else. There's a Black-owned ice cream shop down the block. Or maybe, ice cream is really going to make us fat. So maybe we should go eat a salad instead, right? That's what I'm thinking, right? And I really encourage you to sort of process these things because those emotional deficiencies, those psychological shortcomings that we're raised with, that self-esteem issue, that drives a lot of people being able to take things from Black people. Like I can point to 1,000 examples. I'm going to try not to point to too many because my brain will explode. I'll start talking all day. But even when I look at guys, I see guys that go on, anybody seen Vlad TV? Vlad TV, right? How many of y'all know about Vlad TV? I've been on Vlad TV several times. I've talked to Vlad on the phone. I did all that, right? And I really am fascinated by how many of these poor little desperate men, who maybe were rappers from the 90s or people that that the world's kind of forgotten about. And they're so desperate for attention that they'll go on Vlad TV's show and they literally will admit to crimes they committed 25 years ago. Like they'll literally be like, yeah, me and Diddy was in the club and we decided to grab a couple of hoes and go and rape them both that night. No, I'm playing, but no, really, like, or I shot him. I died. Well, how many people did you kill? I don't know, probably about 15, 20. I don't know. I shot so many. I probably shot Pac. I just forgot that I did it. Just literally, and they incriminate themselves. And I'm like, wow. So prison, that's a pretty high price to pay for you to get your internet clout. Like that's what that is. That's an emotional deficiency that's being fed at a very high price to you. So remember, when you're paying a price, you're not just paying with money. That's what I want you to understand. Sometimes you pay a price with something that money can't buy. And really, one of the things I think I might have done right is I don't let people waste my most valuable commodities. I'm not talking about my money. My money's not the most valuable thing I have. I have 1,000 things that are more valuable than money, but just things like time. I don't, if someone important wants to talk to me and someone thinks I'm supposed to talk to this person because they're so important or they're on, they're mainstream famous or something. My question is like, well, why would I want to talk to that person? Well, because he was on the hit TV show, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, so this person's important because white people put him on TV. No, that because what I'm doing over here is the most important work I could be doing anywhere. Like talking to my people about wealth and building our families and our communities for the future. That's really what's important. His reality show on Bravo, that just paid him a bunch of money, but that doesn't make it important. See, you got to stop believing that somebody getting paid lots of money to do a job means that they're doing an important job. Getting paid lots of money to do a job does not make the job important. It just means you got a lot of money to do it. And I'm happy for you. But your importance, your significance in the world has to come down to whether or not you're doing meaningful work for meaningful people, meaningful work for a meaningful purpose. You got a big gun and you're aiming it at the right target. If you got a big gun, you aim at the wrong target, then it's a wasted bullet. If you have a little gun and you aim it at the right target, it's wasted. You want a big gun aimed at the right target. That means you're doing meaningful work for meaningful people. You're applying your energy in a meaningful way. So that's why I tell you to go back to the basics, right? I just really don't understand who told us that the job of a mother wasn't the most important job on the planet. That's the most important job anywhere because if mothers weren't doing their jobs, society would crumble. We'd be raising a whole nation full of serial killers. So motherhood is actually a more important job than almost any job I can think of. And the second most important job would be fatherhood. But for some reason, somebody got us all twisted up and had us thinking that somehow going to that white man's factory every day was the most important use of your time. And I vehemently disagree with you. I vehemently disagree. It might be important for him. Sure, he's building family wealth. He's building generational legacy and everything off your labor. Sure, that's fine. But I don't think that's more important than the time you spend with your own kids. I really don't. And I'm not judging how you spend your time. I understand we have limitations and restrictions and things like that. But I just encourage you, to figure out what your standard needs to be and meet the damn standard. And then don't just meet the standard for yourself, meet it for your children. Because I don't think we're meeting the standard for our little girls. That's why they're chasing after some of these raggedy guys. I really do. I'm really fascinated in terms of learning how critical my role is as a father to the self-esteem of my girls. There's something that we give girls, and I think that we understate how important that is because we're so accustomed to the girls not having a father. But I say, well, what if the majority of all the boys didn't have a mother? Are we saying that mothers wouldn't be important? Would we have a normal society if most boys did not have their mother in the house with them? I don't think we would. I really don't. So I think that when you see things happening that almost seem like bastardizations of Black culture, or just extreme disruptions in terms of Black society, Black relationships, choices, I'm the guy that would be curious, like Diddy or Cassie, what made you so attracted to Diddy? What made you think that this pretty gay rapper is an important man? Is it because he had lots of money? Is that what it was? Like, what if Diddy made the same amount of money as the guy at Burger King? But he was still dancing and wearing shiny suits and still a great rapper. Well, he wasn't a great rapper, but still but still like charisma and all that. But he was making like $5.95 an hour. Would that have been your man? Would you have really endured, all this. I'm not judging the choice. I agree. I think it was a scary situation that she was in, but I really wonder about these things, and I wonder like what's really happening here that will make us even think that that would be a good life for you. Is it just the money? And because I can tell you as a person who thinks about money all the time, and I can tell you, when you do what I do, you end up as a professor thinking about money and on levels and layers that you can't even possibly imagine. It goes so much deeper than you think. Um, I just want you to understand that money is not as important as you think sometimes. And money can be a massive distraction. Money really is a drug. Money, the drug of money makes you high. And when you're high, you can end up doing things that don't make any sense. And in fact, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the portfolio power play, because right now you're in the middle of a booming stock market, which is going to create a lot of what they call irrational exuberance, which is a lot of greed. And so that is when the scammers come out. So people will be releasing the fake Bitcoins again and all that stuff, or the crappy cryptos. There's going to be a lot of IPOs of companies that are not worth what they're worth. During the previous boom, you had these things called SPACs, special purpose acquisition companies, which weren't worth what they were pretending to be, and people were paying money for these SPACs. So this changes the dynamics of the entire economy when everyone's sort of feeling excited, because right now everyone's getting FOMO because they're reading all the headlines about the Dow hitting record highs and Bitcoin hitting another record high and all these other things, and they don't want to miss out. So they jump in and they don't know what they're doing and they end up getting burned. So that's what we're going to talk about later on today. If you want to join us for the portfolio power play, here is a link to the private Zoom. I'll put it inside here. And if you're not invited to Money in the Morning yet, our economic awareness training, just get on the text list, text the word morning to 87948. So you can text morning to the number 87948, and I'll send you an invitation. And the portfolio power play, I'm going to put the link right here in the chat if you guys want to join me later on today at 1 p.m. Eastern. So let me see here. Let me pop this in the chat really quick. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and finish this up in a second, because today's my anniversary and I shouldn't be like Mr. Workaholic on the day I got married. So, and then my wife's birthday is right after that. So I got Mother's Day, my daughter's birthday, my wife's birthday, and my wedding anniversary all in the same month. So, sorry, I got 2 daughter birthdays, right? So I got so much crap that happens in the month. It's in May. It's crazy. So it's really hard. I have a hard time keeping up with names and dates, or like anniversaries and stuff. So pray for me. All right. So anyway, let me finish reading these studies in terms of how that setting that standard can make a big difference. Okay. Yeah. Did I switch the portfolio power play to 1? Yeah, it's 1 p.m. Eastern, Natasha. I think I had to move it back to 1 because the other time, for whatever reason, didn't work. But there's the link right there. And you can click on that and you can join. All right, so a couple more things I want to mention before we bounce out. And again, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. So feel free to join us. Just text the word morning to 87948. One thing that they say, surprise, surprise, is according to this study by the Institute for Family Studies, they said a father's involvement can set high standards for how a daughter expects to be treated in relationships. Research shows that daughters who have close communicative relationships with their fathers are less likely to engage in risky sexual behavior and are more likely to have fulfilling, long-lasting marriages. These daughters often have higher self-esteem and body image satisfaction, which are crucial for healthy relationships. Also, in terms of academic and career choices, fathers play a crucial role in their daughters' academic and career decisions. Studies indicate that daughters who receive mentoring and support from their fathers are more likely to pursue ambitious career paths and are often influenced positively by their father's career choices. This support fosters independence and confidence, which are beneficial in all areas of life, including relationships. Also, in terms of negative outcomes, they said the absence of a father figure or a poor father-daughter relationship can lead to adverse outcomes such as depression, anxiety, and early sexual activity. Conversely, daughters with positive father figures are less likely to face these issues and more likely to develop healthy, supportive relationships with their partners. So shout out to and by the way, if you don't see that link to join the portfolio power play, One other way you can get access, I'll send this out in a little bit. Text the word stock, STOCK, to 87948. If you text stock to 87948, you'll get a link from me right after this class, and I'll invite you guys in. So text stock to 87948. I'll also mention a couple stocks I'm buying later on today when we talk. All right. So what I really see here is, first off, I want to applaud fathers that are setting a standard for their kids, period, and their daughters especially. I'm proud of you. I love you so much because of the fact that you are the fabric that's holding the community together. We need our strong masculine men to do this, because unfortunately, as Malcolm X used to talk about, America tries to make the black man into a little boy. So when I see rappers behaving in very childish ways, it reminds me of the fact that there are people that use their money to convince black males, grown black men, to behave like children. I saw the rapper Cameron on CNN, pretty much acting like a kid, because there's no pressure for them to grow up. So they're very irresponsible, very sloppy, very ignorant. And he's old. I think he's old enough to be a grandfather. I want to say he's almost 50 years old. Diddy is over 50, right? And engaged in the same shenanigans that he was engaged in when he was 25 years old. A 52-year-old is not supposed to behave like a 25-year-old. That's not culturally normal, but it seems normal because we financially reward it. So sometimes when things are financially incentivized, that makes us automatically and unfairly and incorrectly believe that that is the right way to approach life, that that's the right way to exist. And it's not. So thank you to the men that understand that. And then also I want to say thanks to all the mothers that really help facilitate that child-father relationship. Because one of the things I believe is that from what I've read, I read about the science of bonding and oxytocin, which is the chemical in your brain that bonds you to other people. Mothers have a very natural bond with the children because oxytocin production in your brain during pregnancy connects you to the child. That's why when the baby comes out, the mother's already instantly bonded. With the father and the child, the bond has to be constructed, right, through having them spend time together, facilitating that, right? The mother kind of saying like, hey, spend time with your father, especially if the partnership doesn't last. You have to kind of push that and have them spend time together and do things together, and then they'll naturally become more connected. If the mother is resistant, or if the mother is has issues with the father or is disrespectful of the father, it's very hard for the father to step in and form a relationship with the child. Because I don't know about y'all, tell me if you agree, give me a yes or no. Anybody my mother didn't respect wasn't gonna get my respect. Tell me if you get that. Tell me if you agree with that. Anybody, if my mama, if I was gonna meet some man and my mother's like, he ain't nothing, but a dirty liar. He a damn fool. He's an idiot. I'm not, and I'm 9 years old. I'm loyal to my mother 100%, period. So you bring this guy in front of me and you've been talking crazy about him, or even if you're subtly doing it, even if it's subconscious, right? Or somebody says his name and you go, yeah, we'll see what he does. Oh, that's a cue. That's a clue. And I want y'all to understand this. Pay attention now. My mother did not do this, but it happened. It's a true story. I met my father, my biological father, for the first time when I was 14 years old. So my uncle took me to his house. My parents did not know that I was being taken to my biological father's house. I come to the door. He's standing there, and I looked at him, and it was really shocking because I'd never seen another man who looked like me like that. He looked a lot. I said, wow. So he gave me a hug, and it was one of those real heavy hugs, like, son, oh my God, good to see you, son, that kind of thing. And I didn't hug him with the same intensity because I'm 14 and I didn't feel the same, I didn't feel the same way. Hadn't spent years away from my son. I was just a 14-year-old, a freshman. So I'm sitting there in the living room and I'm talking to my grandmother, which was his mother, was sitting in there. I had an uncle sitting in there who was the brother of my father, and then my father sitting there. And this was actually, and now that I think about it, I think he got there like a little bit later. That's what, because when I first got there, I think he wasn't there. And I remember they were talking about him and they said something real subtle. They said, yeah, well, one day, his name was Boyce, like mine. They said, yeah, but Boyce will get it together one day. And when they said that, that said to me, okay, so that means my father does not have it together. It was that one little slick little sentence, right? And then we were sitting there, and then my father's sitting there, and he says, "Yeah, one day I'm gonna get me a Maserati." And I remember just looking at him, and I instantly had like almost no respect for him because I'm listening to this. And maybe I'm different. Maybe I assume I was probably a little bit different. Maybe I am a little more perceptive, a little more aware of things. I don't know. But I was like, this dude does not seem like he's not what I thought. Like I was hoping I'd have some dad who was doing amazing things that I could be proud of. I did not see that with him, right? And it was accurate. He was on drugs. He was, in the streets doing whatever. And at that point the respect was kind of gone. And so really what I would say to you is that you have to facilitate those relationships, and it's really to the benefit of the kid. It's not for your benefit. You may hate him, but that kid needs somebody that's gonna care about them without wanting something in return, because if that's not there, then she's going to look for that from a lot of other men who are going to expect her to pay a high price. Okay. And they're going to drain her of things that money should not be able to buy, if you know what I mean. So that's my 2 cents. If you want me to package it up and summarize the gist of what we've talked about today, it is basically that healing and emotional health is extremely important for wealth building, because if you are whole emotionally, you don't have to pay and give your wealth away to people that help you fill those gaps. Do you understand? Right? You don't have to pay to fill the loneliness gap. Like think about it, like a man who's lonely, maybe he pays women for sex because he doesn't know how to not be lonely, right? Or a woman whose self-esteem is low. She's giving her body away to men, right? Which is more valuable than money, right? Or maybe you're giving your time and your energy to things that are not beneficial to you. And I know white folks, I believe that with racism, if you read Dr. Claude Anderson books like Black Labor, White Wealth, which everybody should really read, it explains how during slavery that the number one goal of the slave master was to keep the slave's self-esteem really low. They wanted to make sure that you were hardworking and very loyal, but they did not want you to have a lot of confidence in yourself. Because if you have too much confidence in yourself, then you, by God, might gasp, actually try to compete with white people. And they did not want you competing with the white man, but they wanted you to serve him. Right. So ultimately, I believe you can compete with anybody. I believe you should serve your family first, and then serve your community after your family, and then serve yourself after you serve your community, serve your family, serve yourself. Take care of all three. And I think that will get you to where you are able to build wealth, because you're not giving it all away to other people who are doing things for you that you don't actually need in the first place. So anyway, all right. So couple quick things. So today we're going to do the portfolio power play at 1. I'll mention some stocks that I'm buying during that time. Also, I mentioned to you all that I wanted to, since you had asked me about other specialized topics like estate planning, stock options, real estate, stuff like that, I wanted to do it in a way where you could form healthy economic habits. That's the goal. That's the goal of economic awareness training. That's why we do it 7 days a week, is because I want you to get in the habit every day of thinking about your economics. So what I wanted to create, in addition to money in the morning, was something called Money in a Minute. And that's literally where it's, if you want to learn, for example, estate planning, I would send you out via text message like some sort of short lesson that you can learn in less than 2 minutes on estate planning. And then you would get one of those every single day for maybe 30, 45 days. And then by the time you're done, you would have a basic understanding of estate planning. And then there will be options for you to do more if that's what you want to do. Same thing with stock options, stock market investing, real estate. We can go on and on and on, and pretty much, sort of create whatever you want. So that's almost done, and I'll reach out to you guys about that. There will be a fee, but we'll discount it substantially for those of you that are in our economic awareness training, and that should be ready probably by the end of the week. Okay, so I'll let you guys know when that's ready. And if you're not already on the text list for Money in the Morning or economic awareness training, make sure you text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. And also the book that we were covering for a big part of this class is my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, which you can get a copy at our Black Wealth Mastery store, which is at drboycebooks.com. So it's drboycebooks.com. So take care, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you so much for hanging out. It was great. And maybe I'll see you guys later on this afternoon. And thank you for your well wishes on the anniversary right now. Impregnant, meaning that something's going to happen. Something's going to be born. I don't know if it's going to be a boy or a girl, or if it's going to be a pretty baby or an ugly baby, but something is going to be born. And so this is an opportunity on one hand, but it's also a risk. It's a risk factor in the sense that if the numbers are bad, it could further increase the downward spiral in the market. Let me see what the market's doing right this second. Let me see what okay, it looks like Spotify had record profits. Let me see here. Okay, it looks like it's up a little bit today. Um, okay, and earnings season is starting right now. Like, so that's just sort of a very big deal. So ultimately, you want to just be ready for that. Be ready for risk. If you, generally speaking, at one point I did something called storm-proof investing. And I laid that out where I was explaining to you all different ways to protect your portfolio. I'm a believer in safety first investing, really understanding that there are risk factors when you put your money out there, and that you should always be aware of that so that you don't end up putting yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in. So anyway, so once again, forgive me for if I start coughing in it at any moment. I went to the summit this weekend and I think I just caught something. All right, so let me see here. Now, one thing I mentioned earlier was I'd given you guys couple stocks that I like. One of them was URA, uranium. I believe the investment in uranium is going to grow because of the need for nuclear power. I think nuclear power is going to be critically important going forward for various reasons. So the ticker symbol is URA, URA. Somebody type that in the chat, is URA. And then also MU, Micron strategy. So what I'm going to do actually, literally while I'm talking to you is I like the uranium ETF the most. So I'm literally, while I'm talking to you, buying shares as we speak. I'm literally doing that right now. And so I'm opening up my E-Trade, and just to show you how your stock picking behavior should be, in my opinion, I think you should get in the habit of just buying stocks the same way you might buy fast food. If you don't eat fast food, then you don't eat fast food. But if you were to eat fast food, you know how people just go through, they grab a burger and they keep it moving. Well, I kind of think stock selection should be the kind of the same way. If you find something that looks like it would be good for your portfolio, then just grab some and just keep going. Like, don't and the other thing too is I was listening to I listened to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and I was listening to a story where a person was talking about how he had $50,000 and he wanted to invest in some company. I forget what the company was, and he literally put the whole 50,000 into one investment. Now, what do y'all think I'm going to say about that? What do you think that my answer to or my response to that would be? What do y'all think? Yeah, it would be like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? Why would you put all your wealth in one place? Because what happens is that you're violating a fundamental rule of investing, and a lot of people don't know this. They just sort of, so what'll happen is they'll say, "Oh, I put my money here and I lost everything. It's your fault." And I would say, "No, it's not someone else's fault that you lost everything. Unfortunately, it's your fault. Like, you lost everything because you put everything in one place. You made your portfolio vulnerable. Never do that. Like, that is literally the worst way to invest ever. And in fact, I would almost say to you that as a general rule, if you feel that any one thing, any one investment can either build you up or change your life or destroy you, that probably means you need to spread your money out a little bit more. You know, again, I think that I know people violate that rule, and I think it's okay if people do it, especially if they know what they're getting into. Like, if they, like sometimes Warren Buffett violates that rule a little bit. So it's not as if it's a hard and fast rule all the time. But if you don't want to risk losing all your money, you got to spread your money out. If you don't, then and something bad happens, well, then that's kind of on you. And so really, when I buy stock, what I do, just like I did with the uranium thing, I literally buy stock so frequently that I don't remember the stocks I own. Like, if you say, hey doc, do you own this company or that company? I'll be like, I don't know, I can't remember. I think I bought it. And that's because there are thousands of companies out here. I don't, I see them each week. And a lot of times when I give you guys the profit alerts or whatever, and we have a whole thing in the Black Business School called What Dr. Boyce is Buying. And literally every week I lay out a list of stocks. I buy some of them. It's like serving food. Like you eat some of the food for yourself, and then you can serve the rest. And I don't remember what move I made or what exactly I bought. I just know that typically when you pick a stock, you want your investments to be things that look like they're good 5 to 10 year opportunities. That's pretty much the horizon that you want. So if you get to the point, here's another mistake that a lot of people make also. They'll buy a stock in, let's say, January, and they'll watch the stock till, say, September. And then they'll come to me and they'll say, "Oh, I bought this stock back in January and it's been going down and I really feel bad about the investment, et cetera, et cetera." And I'll be like, "But you just bought it. Like you just the game just started. Like you're not even 1/3 of the way through the first quarter and you're saying that your team is going to lose." You do know that this story is a long story. This is a 5 to 10 year story. This is not a 4 or 5 month story. So time horizons are a big problem with investing too. A lot of people get the impression that if I buy a stock today, I'm going to start making money tomorrow, and that also is another mistake that I encourage you not to make. Okay, all right, all right. So yeah, so again, I apologize, guys. So again, if you want to know what I like right now, I like that uranium play, URA. I also like Micron, MU. MU is the ticker symbol Micron. I think I'm going to buy some shares of Micron at some point. And that's where we are. All right. So what I'm going to do is also answer some of your questions, and let's see what we got here. All right. Okay. Put your questions in the Q&A section, by the way, and that way I'll see them. Okay, so let's see here. Gina says, I'm enrolling the Robinhood app, but I'm not sure what their margin agreement is. I read it over, but this is my first time. Should I opt into their margin agreement regarding options when I'm ready? Okay, so I cannot give you investing advice, Gina, but I can say that you might want to take some time and really try to make sure you understand what you're doing when you do it. At least some part of it, especially when it involves your money. So ultimately, with margin, what you're basically getting debt. And you might say, well, why would I want debt? Debt is bad, right? Debt is not always bad. Debt can be the thing that changes your life and makes your life better. So I would not look at debt as always a bad thing. I would look at debt as a powerful thing. Uh, Something as powerful as debt requires you to be very cautious in your investment decision making. So, but if you have that debt, that extra leverage, you can control more. You can control more assets that way. Now, by the way, if you have a question, put it in the Q&A section. If you put it in the chat, I may not see it. Okay, am I using AI in my investing strategies? Everybody should be using AI. I use AI for everything, my whole life, not just investing, everything. So yeah, yeah. So the answer is yes. And also now with investing in particular, like for example, one thing AI can do is like you can pop a PDF in there and it can break through the PDF. And I've seen people show how ChatGPT can take an earnings report from a company and go through it and kind of give you insights into the company that way. But that's not really as beneficial as it sounds because that's what analysts do already. Analysts already have broken down that information. And so the reason I don't go through earnings reports with you guys is because I don't believe that there is a need to do that. I think that investing can be made very simple and you can be very effective without doing an analyst job for them. It's almost like me telling you to go become an auto mechanic and so you can fix your own car, change your own engine and stuff like that. I'm not saying that that's not a valuable skill. A lot of people, know how to do this, but most people don't. They want to drive a car. They don't want to learn how to change out an entire engine or the manifold, or you know what I mean. They don't want to do all that. They just want to know how to make sure their car is running properly. So ultimately, I think with the use of AI, I think it's a matter of maybe AI can make some recommendations if you're looking for certain sectors and industries to look at. But then once it makes the recommendations, you have to go back and find ways to double check that because it'll tell you like, okay, these are stocks in this industry. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll then look and see what are the analyst reports looking like? Like what's the, what are the risk factors with this stock, right? So there's a multidimensional sort of process that you want to go through with stock selection. But I think AI is just something that's here, and I think everybody should learn how to use it. All right, so let's see. Next question. Michael says, "How do you feel about ChargePoint? Um, is ChargePoint good for an options play? Okay, could you sell? I like to sell covered calls. That's what we talked about a lot this week at the Stock Options Summit. A lot of you are making thousands of dollars a week selling covered calls, and it's a great way to make money without working. If you don't know how to do it, I have a training called How to Make Money Without Working. Text the word money to 87948 and I'll send it to you. Just text the word money to 87948 and I'll send it to you right away. No. The answer is no. I don't like ChargePoint. I don't even like it as an investment. It looks like the company's struggling. Whenever you get stocks that are like down there in that like $37 range, that means they probably had a really rough time. And ChargePoint's been just declining like crazy. It's dropped 84% in the last year. That speaks to significant fundamental problems. Now, this does not mean the stock can't recover, right? So if you are a believer that it can recover, then why not? But it's definitely not good for selling call options. We're going to have a prime meeting soon, and I'm going to give you guys the list of the money makers in terms of what I'm invested in that I'm generating my income from with my options. So if you're in the prime class, then I will send you guys a link. We're gonna meet up. I think we might be meeting tomorrow. I don't know. Hopefully, I'll stop coughing by then. But yeah, so we're gonna talk tomorrow. What would you begin with? I'm not scared to invest. Okay, Dana, that's good. So you can go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. At blackwealthmasterplan.com, that's where I have the $5 a day plan. The $5 a day plan is literally the easiest plan to implement that will make your family rich in less than a generation. I'm not kidding. You'll go, if you're lower class, you'll go from lower class to middle class. If you're middle class, you'll go from middle to upper class. It's very straightforward to do. A 5-year-old monkey could do it. And and I know all of you are smarter than monkeys, and all of you are smarter than 5-year-olds. The big thing is when you buy the assets, I only ask that you buy consistently, and you don't sell what you buy. If you can do that, wealth is easy. Wealth is easy. It just takes time though. That's the hard part. That's because a lot of people are very impatient. They want to make their money really fast. And the thing about it is that fast money is not good money. If you're trying to make fast money, it's not usually going to be real money. It's going to be temporary money. So what you really want is that slow money. The slow money is the more stable money. What cryptocurrency do you have? I stick with mostly Bitcoin and Ethereum. I do have some some other cryptos that I bought through the years, but the crypto market's been so crazy and weird and volatile that I tend to stick to Bitcoin and Ethereum. I may expand at some point, but right now those are the two I'm sticking with. What do you think about SoundHound? I've never heard of SoundHound, Melvin. Let me see. SoundHound. Um, SoundHound. Looks like a new company. Let me see. Yeah, they haven't been trading that long. Uh, Not terrible. I mean, it's gone up a lot though. You got to be careful about stocks. It's gone up 113% in the last 3 months. So chances are you might have heard of it because it's gone up so much. It's under $5, so it's not that expensive. It looks like they use voice and sound and natural language and AI models. I'm not gonna say yes or no on that. I'll just say it's not terrible. It doesn't look terrible. I'm not gonna buy it, but it doesn't look horrible. Let's see here. Good morning. I have 100 shares of ALT. It looks like it's doing good. I'd like to take a covered call position on it, but don't want to mess up on that play. It's been up 8% today. I don't want to miss out on an opportunity. How do I not mess this up? Well, if you want to take the covered call, if you log in at drboyceprime.com, we have a lot of examples on how to sell the covered call and stuff like that. So just use your login at drboyceprime.com and there's plenty of stuff there. If you're not sure what to do, Amani's right there in the chat. She can guide you to the material that'll help you do that. That may be something worth doing. If a stock goes up, either selling a call option or or shaving some off the top or a stop loss order, things like that can help you protect excuse me, protect your position. The stock's gone down a lot this month. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It was ALT on our list of moneymakers. I think it, I think it might have been. because it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look terrible. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The 850 call. I would sell that one. Okay. Yeah. So ALT, yeah, I like it. I like it as an income generator. Now, as a long-term investment, that's another conversation. But also in prime class, I just came to some insights on, I put together another formula that I want to share with you on how to minimize your risk of FOMO when you implement your strategy. So make sure that you guys are ready to join us in class. You can get on the text list. Text the word options to 87948. Make sure you're on the list. Text options to 87948. And now Prime members can come into class. If you're not a Prime member and you want to join, just go to drboyceprime.com. But I think you guys are going to like it because it actually helps to solve one of the problems that a lot of us had run into with FOMO. I was running into this problem, and so I solved it in my own portfolio. So I'll share what I figured out. All right, so let's see here. Cease says, what's a safe amount for a beginner investing in real estate ETFs? There is no safe amount, Cease. It's really a personal decision. I think that I think real estate investment trusts are great ways to get exposure to real estate without having to actually go out and go through all the paperwork required to buy real estate. So, it's up to you to decide how you want to approach that. Let's see. I'm answering questions in the Q&A section, by the way. So if you put it in the chat, I won't see it because I'm looking at the Q&A section. Let's see. Chris says, should I roll my marathon digital cover call at the strike of 16 if it expires this Friday? Let's save that for prime class, but I will say it's up to you to make that decision. I can't give you investment advice. But I can tell you that if you want to maintain ownership of the stock, then doing the roll up could be the approach to maintain ownership, and also preparing for the need to do a roll up. To do a roll up, you don't just have to do it. You have to make sure you're ready because roll ups sometimes can cost money. If the stock goes way past the strike price, you're going to pay money to do that roll up. So that means you either have to have cash to the side or you have to have shares that you own that are not that where the options haven't been sold. So that I call that chasing the horse out of the barn. So basically, if you're in a position to do a roll up and you want to maintain ownership of the asset, then the answer is absolutely yes. What are my thoughts on PTLO? Is that Palantir or did I get that wrong? Let me see here. PTLO. Portillo's. Oh yeah. Well, my first thought is I love the food and I do like the stock. So my wife and I eat at Portillo's all the time. I feel like once the world finds out how good Portillo's is, I think it's going to just blow up and go crazy. I love Portillo's. Let's see, Tony. I made my first cover call option trade this week. By the way, if you have options questions or questions about cover calls and stuff like that, save that for prime class. I'll send you guys a link soon. We're going to do a prime class. So I don't want to confuse anybody. This is about stock, the stock market and stock market investing. So I'll answer this particular question quickly, but after that, I'm gonna move the options questions to options class, and when we do options, okay. So just so we can stay focused here. Let's see. I made my first cover call trade last week. The option was bought and exercised. I'm still waiting for the transaction to be settled. Yeah. If it's not settled, that probably means that the price that you offered is not good enough. So remember that you have the bid-ask spread. The better the offer that you make, the more likely it is that your contract gets executed. Just because you put it in order does not mean it went through. You have to make sure it goes through. Am I using Options Dash, Shaquana? Yes, I like Options Dash a lot. There are lots of platforms for to find stuff, but Options Dash is definitely one of them. Meta and Coin both have earnings coming up in the next 7 days. Would you recommend waiting until after the earnings to purchase or selling call options? I can't give it that investment advice. I will say I try my best not to react too much to what's happening in the market. Like I try my best not to time things because that stresses you out and drives you crazy. I prefer picking a strategy and just being consistent with it. And by the way, if you log in at drboyceprime.com, there is a link where you can leave me a question. And what I'll do, since a lot of you have options questions, is I will go and I will answer a bunch of those questions. I'll do a video for you today, and I'll send it out. So if I don't answer your options question here, just log in at drboyceprime.com, put your question in there, and I will answer that, and I'll send you guys that video to take a look. Let's see. I have 100 shares of SoundHound. Good for you. And remember, don't get obsessed with one stock. with stock market investing, it's not like getting married. Like I married my wife. I probably could have married somebody else. I had a lot of money, so I assumed someone would have married me. But once I got married, I focused on my wife. That's what I was obsessed with. That's who I wanted. And and that's love. But with stock, you should not fall in. I don't believe you should fall in love with a politician, and you shouldn't fall in love with a stock. Politicians don't love you back. They want your vote. They'll use you. Stock, if you get caught up with one stock, you're not investing properly. You're gambling. Um, Diversification is the one of the most fundamental, most critical aspects of investing. Never ever get to the point where you're like, okay, I bought 80 shares of this one company. You're not done. You need 20. And if you can't get 20, get a mutual fund. A mutual fund will give you exposure to 100. You understand? You got to diversify. You got to diversify. You got to you got to diversify. Why is that important? Well, whenever I hear somebody say, I put my money in and I lost 80% of my money, I know exactly how that happened. When Clinton Portis, the NFL star who had the highest contract in NFL history, lost $10 million with his investment advisor, and he was sitting outside his office with a gun because he was thinking about going in there and killing him. I knew what happened. Somebody didn't diversify. There is no way that a person could have created a healthy portfolio for this man. It went broke. Not possible. Not possible. What probably happened is they put money in Cousin Rerun's bowling alley and Uncle JoJo's liquor store and all these other goofy investments that we do. When I say goofy, I'm not saying that they're always bad. I'm saying that they have a lot of elements that are indicative of really difficult investing scenarios that can emerge from that. Liquidity is one of many variables that will be a problem. And what do I mean by that? If I put $300,000 into Uncle JoJo's liquor store, I may not be able to get that $300,000 out. Uncle JoJo may not be able to go to, like, if I say, look, hey, Uncle JoJo, I invested 300,000. I want to pull my money out now, with interest or with some ROI based on the valuation of the business. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? You don't know. Well, number one, you don't know what the business is worth. So you don't even know if your 300,000 really made you, grew you a capital gain or not. Number two, what if Uncle JoJo says, look, I don't have $300,000. The liquor store makes, $5,000 a week. So I don't know how to pay you, right? So you can't get your money out. So I'm not saying don't invest in family business. I'm saying it has to be done very carefully. And it has to be done in the context of a very broad, diversified portfolio. And you got to think about things like that when you make investments. So just keep that in mind. You got to diversify, spread your money out. Let's see here. When selling, that's the only time I'll even give you anything that even sounds like investing advice. I don't give investing advice on this platform. I want to make that clear. But if I was to give anything that even came close to sound like investment advice, it would be basic stuff like that. Spread your money out, spread your money out, spread your money out. All right. I hope I got that point across. Was selling options okay, so that's an option selling question. Log in at drboyceprime.com. Leave that question for me, and I definitely will answer that for you. Dr. Boyce says, Chet, what are your thoughts on total market mutual funds, fund investments like SWTSX? Total market mutual funds. Okay, SWTFSC. Sorry, SX. Oh, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Okay, let me see here. SWTSX. SpringWorks. Okay. SpringWorks is a clinical stage, but so that's not a mutual fund though. Chet, that's a SWTSX is a pharmaceutical company. It's gone up. I would probably look at this and wonder, like right now it's been going down though. The last month it's gone down 10%. Year to date, it's done pretty well. It's gone up 100% in the last year. That would lead me to be concerned about whether or not it's gonna pull back. I don't see any reason why a person wouldn't put it in their portfolio. I think it's a matter of just knowing what it is. So pharmaceutical companies kind of have a lot of risk that the stock could just jump because of the results of a clinical trial. So you really have to diversify to protect yourself against that risk. But if you like the company and you like the prospects, why not? Let's see here. Okay, thoughts on SPG? SPG. Would I invest? What would I think about SPG? Simon Property Group. I like it already because I like the idea of getting into real estate. Um, okay. It is a self-administered and self-managed real estate investment trust and engaged in the ownership, development, management, shopping, dining, entertainment, mixed-use destinations. Okay. Modest risk. Analysts are so-so on the stock. Uh, let me see here. The dividend yield is 5.3%. So if you like dividends, this is a stock to invest in. With a REIT, you're not really going to get a lot of capital gains, but you will get that consistent income. So if you want to think of it like a savings account that pays you 5.3%, that might be the way to kind of look at it. Okay. Good morning, Dr. Boyce. If you're not using stock options, can you still make money in the stock market? Yes, Carol, you can. You can buy stock and then just sell some of it when the market's really strong, and then use that money whenever you want to. Or you can also buy dividend paying stocks, but it takes a lot. It takes a pretty massive capital base for you to be able to generate an income that's really going to make a dent in your life. It's kind of hard to get $1 million worth of stock just so you can make $50,000 a year. With options, you can make 50,000 a year much easier. So that's one thing. I mean, you don't need options, but options can be beneficial. All right. So let's see here. All right. So next question is let's see. Okay. Let's see. Sarah says, so do you use Greeks to evaluate an option? All the time. But we'll talk about that in options class. Let's see. Justin, what AI ETF do you like for the long term? AIQ. AIQ. Let's see. If you put your question in the Q&A section, I'll see it. If you put it in the chat, I won't. So make sure you put it in the Q&A section. And if you ask me about a stock, just like ask one at a time. If you have a long list, it's kind of hard to go through a whole list. What's the best way to start learning about investing for someone who's never invested? You can start with blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's where the $5 a day plan is. That's blackwealthmasterplan.com. Also, we have a great comprehensive program in the Black Business School, the blackstockmarketprogram.com. The blackstockmarketprogram.com. I think the first month is $1. So and then there's a ton of stuff in there because I've saved everything that I've done, all the trainings, all the special events, stuff like that. Another thing you can do, y'all gotta forgive me, my chest. Another thing you could possibly look at is I know Amani's in the chat. Maybe Amani, maybe you can find. I think we have a stock options mini class or stock market and stock options mini class. I don't know if you're able to find that or not, but that might be something you could take a look at. Rosa says the link isn't working. Well, Amani should be in the chat. Give Amani the link that isn't working and talk to her about that. She should be able to take good care of you. Let's see here. Doc, what's going on with Tesla? The market, two big things happening with Tesla is that the EV market is changing. The Chinese are really coming hard, and it's causing Elon to have to lower prices to compete. The second thing is that Elon's brand is evolving. His investors are getting annoyed with his shenanigans online. Um, and I would say those are the two main things. And then thirdly, the stock was pretty highly valued in the beginning. Tesla had very high expectations, and when you have very high expectations, it's easy to miss the mark. Well, you miss the mark, then your stock price is going to suffer, and that's pretty much what's going on with Tesla. I'm gonna answer a few more questions, and then I'm going to end this early, just because you guys could tell I am absolutely worthless today. I apologize for all the coughing. Elton, do you have an opinion on Charles Schwab's platform? I love Charles Schwab. I use it. I like it. What are your thoughts on cannabis stock GRWG? I don't believe in picking one cannabis stock. I believe in picking cannabis ETFs. I think I sent you guys a cannabis ETF. I can't remember what it was. Here we go. MSOS, Advisor Shares Pure US Cannabis ETF. It hasn't done stellar, but it's done okay, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Last year's gone up 69%. I believe cannabis, but the problem is the last 5 years has gone down 65%. But I believe cannabis is eventually going to get legalized. And so I believe that the cannabis ETF is going to benefit from that. So the ticker symbol, if you want to take a look at that, this is not investing advice. It's MSOS, MSOS. Let's see here. The Schwab Total Stock Market Index. Oh, SWTSX. Maybe I looked the SWTSX. Yeah. Oh, you know what? It must not be publicly traded. My apologies for that. Because what happened was the pharmaceutical company came up, but that ticker symbol was slightly different. It's SWTX. So forget what I said about that. Yeah, I like the Charles Schwab Total Market Index. Let me just say that. What they're basically trying to do is capture the whole stock market in one investment, where you can invest in one thing, get a piece of the US economy, and be done with your day. Investing can be like that. Investing can literally be something where you just do it one time and then then you're done. You don't have to sit there and stare at your stocks all day. Elijah says, when you sell up, okay, let's see here. If you have a question about options, log in at drboyceprime.com. You can leave the question there. And also we're going to do an options class tomorrow. So you guys will get a text today with a link, and I look forward to seeing you in options class. And you can log in at drboyceprime.com if you'd like to leave the question in advance. What is the best app or site to get info on all stocks, ETFs, etc.? Says Cynthia. There's lots of sites. Let me think here. I don't know if there's a place you can go where you can get all the stuff at once, but sites like CNBC, Yahoo Finance, Apple News, Bloomberg, there's a lot of sources out there. There's a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of stuff out there. Wall Street Breakfast. There's plenty of, The Exchange, CNBC. There's a lot of places that you can consume information and learn about it. And I encourage you to just pick your favorites and don't try to get to them all. It'll drive you crazy. How do I find a good certified financial planner? I would start with your bank. If you bank, especially with a good bank like Chase or Bank of America, they've always got financial advisors around. They're not bad. Let's see here. Next question is, hey, Dr. Boyce, what do you think about GE and the spinoff stocks? You know what, Natasha, I used to love GE, but I feel like GE is struggling. I don't know if I think they lost themselves, but I don't hate it though. I don't hate it. I'm always enthusiastic about a company that's working so hard to solve its problems. Um, I'm looking at GE stock now. It looks like the last 3 months. Wow, it's really roared the last 3 months. The last year, okay, maybe they figured some things out. Yeah, yeah. So either purchasing GE now maybe could be a move to make if you like the company, or waiting until there's a pullback. But yeah, GE, whew, this stock has been on fire, and I've been waiting for that because GE. I mean, I think they did a reverse stock split because their stock was doing so badly. But it sounds like they might have fixed whatever their issue was. Any suggestion on emerging markets? Yeah, there are emerging markets ETFs, stuff like that. I don't have any that come to mind right now, but let me see, emerging markets. Here we go. EEM, iShares MSCI Emerging Markets ETF. EEM, that's the ticker symbol. So if you like emerging markets, that's a good way to jump in. The $5 a day works. Share my testimony at the summit. Thank you, Michael, for doing that. I appreciate it. Anybody who wants to do the $5 a day plan for your kids, so your kids aren't out here on TikTok crying at 26 because they don't have enough money to pay the rent. The $5 a day plan is easy to implement. It works. It literally allows you to invest less money than most of us spend on fast food. But the thing is, you have to do it. You have to administer the financial medication early. You can't wait till the last minute. If you try to do it try to make money in 6 months, it doesn't work that well. Investing needs time and it gains momentum. So if you have a newborn baby, you do $5 a day for that child. By the time that child is 30 or 20, really, that child's going to be rich. They're going to have more money than 95% of all Black children. So put them in a position of strength. Don't just throw them out there. All right. So Sharon, would you ever buy stock in a company if you feel like the company's products or services are harmful? To be honest with you, Sharon, I don't care about stuff like that. Some people care about that, but honestly, I just look at the fundamentals. I mean, what kind of business you're in is most of the time. I mean, private prisons, obviously not. But everything else, it's a personal choice. Let's see. Michael says, Doc, my wife and I have the capital base to invest in stock options. Should we reach out to you directly? Well, Amani's in the chat. If you want to set up a direct consultation, you can go through Amani. Also, drboyceprime.com. That's where we've got literally hundreds of you that are in there making quite a bit of money selling cover call options and also doing various option strategies that a lot of you seem to like. The satisfaction level is very, very high. So if anybody wants to give it a try, you can go to drboyceprime.com. All right, so let's see here. Sean Campbell, what exactly should I be looking at when shopping for a long-term, short-term stock? I put together a list of 11 steps that a person could go through to pick up the right stock. If you look up, I think it's the drboycemethod.com, the where you can take a look at that if you want to. Let me see that URL still is up. It should work. Sometimes URLs just stop working. I don't know why. There we go. The drboycemethod.com. The drboycemethod.com. Let's see. Elijah, what are your marathon projections after earnings in May? I have no idea. The Bitcoin halving just happened. Marathon does Bitcoin mining. I don't know how that's going to affect their profitability. I would expect it to cause it to decline. But the thing is that the market has already adjusted for all that. So I don't know what to expect. Wyline, what do you look for to determine if a stock is good for options versus long-term holdings? A lot of factors, starting with implied volatility. I look to see whether or not the investment is safe or not. I check the stability of the stock. I check mostly risk management, and making sure that it's like putting a seatbelt on a kid before they get on a roller coaster. You just got to think about, like, what are the ways that this baby could fall out of the roller coaster. So you buckle them in and all that stuff. And once you have assessed the risk, pick the asset, assess the risk, and manage the risk, then you can get to generating the income. But then what happens is, and this is what we do, in the Prime program, in case you want to know, is every week there's an adjustment, there's a reassessment, there's a determination. Sometimes the assets that were the best choices last month are different from this month. You have roll-ups and roll-downs and all kinds of modifications that have to be made. And also you have FOMO and FOLO, fear of missing out and fear of losing out, that you have to manage as well. And so risk management becomes an important part of the process. But if you can keep the baby in the roller coaster with the seatbelt on, you can go quite a ways with this strategy in terms of generating consistent income. But you also have to understand that every strategy can't do everything. So selling options is a strategy that generates income. It doesn't always generate capital gains. And sometimes it might generate a capital loss. And you have to be able to contextualize properly what that capital loss might mean. Not because it's not like it means nothing. It means the paper loss means something, but paper losses only mean something if you're selling the asset. So if I buy a house, and you tell me my house is worth 10% less than what it was worth yesterday, I don't care. I'm not selling the house. Now, if I'm selling, then I have to be more sensitive to the price adjustments. All right, let's see. The Charles Schwab ticker. Yeah, it was SWTSX, Patricia, SWTSX. But it's not in Robinhood, so you might have to go to E-Trade or Schwab to find it. Okay, a few more questions, then I'm going to bounce on out of here. $5 a day investment. Can you provide more information? Yes, Sydney. It is at blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's blackwealthmasterplan.com. Let's see. Dana says, Dr. W, this is about your cough. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate the offer, Dana. danapitts.lovebiome.com. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. And my wife has me, she's into a lot of holistic treatments and stuff, and she got me doing all kinds of stuff. So I'm gonna be good. It's just I gotta cough it out. So, but thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. All right, so let's see here. How do you feel about the flying car? I'd like to see them. I thought we'd have them by now, Maurice, but we don't. And yeah, I see. Okay, you have some tickers: JOBYEVTLEH. Okay, I'll look at JOBY. Let's see here. JOBY. That's a flying car company. Okay, Joby Aviation. The stock's been going down a lot. Their transportation company, which engages in the development of an all-electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft platform. Okay. I see that as more of a long-term investment, but at the same time, it could be a short-term investment if you think that somehow there's going to be some innovation in the short term that's going to move that stock price. If you believe in the industry and you think that it's going to evolve, maybe you're an engineer and you have some insight into it, or maybe you follow aviation, maybe you can invest in it, but I would not try to pick the winner. That's the part where you get in trouble, is if you try to pick which company is going to win in an industry, you're going to end up getting it wrong 9 times out of 10. Like if you go back to 2000, everybody knew the internet was going to be big. Everybody knew that. It wasn't a secret. And people would try to bet on the internet or invest in the internet. So what they would do is they would pick stocks like AOL, Yahoo, because that makes sense. MySpace, right? That makes sense, right? Why? Well, because they because they those companies were dominant at that time. That obviously isn't what happened. So the best way to invest in the internet might have been an ETF or something like that, or a diversified portfolio at the very least. That would have made a big difference. Okay, three more questions and then we're done. So Patricia, I won't get to your question, but Gregory Dees will have the honor of getting the last question for today. All right, so Patricia Jackson, actually, I see you have two questions, so I will get to your question, Patricia. I just won't get to the second one, so I hope that's okay. All right, so Patricia says 64 years young, just getting started in stocks, and only a few hundred to start. Real estate trust AIQ to build income. I like that. I like that a lot. I like the diversification. Congratulations. And remember, 64. There, yeah, that is young. It's 80 years old is young if you understand investing as a team sport. Investing is a team sport. You're not just investing for you, you're investing for your grandkids. Your grandkids have all the time in the world. They have all the time in the world. They're very wealthy because they have time. And all those years, that 157,000 hours that they spend just being kids between the ages of 0 and 18, that's 157,000 hours that Grandma Patricia's money can be growing in an S&P 500 index account that will make sure that they have no financial problems as they get older. See, here's the thing. It's not impossible to imagine a world where no intelligent black child or no child of intelligent black parents has to work for anybody. I do believe that. I said I'm going to set that standard very high for you because I believe that this is easily achievable. If you are an intelligent black person, and when I say intelligent, I'm not talking about when you went to school and all that. I'm talking about just you have investor vision and foresight and you plan and stuff like that. If you're intelligent, your children should never have to work for anybody. And don't get intimidated by that. It's very easy. If you simply just have the discipline to do the $5 a day plan, and your kid says, 25, I don't want to work for anybody. That's possible. That's possible. We have, because they have $250,000 in the bank or 200,000 or 190,000. If you have 190,000 in the bank, yeah, you don't have to go to work that day. And there are students in the Black Business School in the Prime program right now with about 190,000 in capital who are generating $3,000 a week, literally over six figures every year selling stock options, making money without working. It's doable. So if you give your child the right skill and the right assets, they don't have to work for anybody. Well, where do you get the assets from? That's another mistake. People think you can get this money fast. This ain't no fast money class. I'm not going to teach you how to be a drug dealer or a basketball player. This is a slow money platform. Slow money means that the real money is the slow money. The slow money is the grow money. You got to grow it just like a flower in your backyard. So if you slowly grow it and then over time, when your kid's 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, they got enough money where they never have to work for anyone. So if you're over the age of 60, stop thinking that you're old. Stop thinking that this is the end. This is not the end of nothing. This is the beginning. Like imagine if you had a great grandparent who in 1930 said, "Oh, I'm 65 years old. It's the end. Nothing matters after this. Nothing matters after 1938." That will be very short-sighted because you had 1948, 1958, you had the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. A lot of things happened. For some people, the story was just beginning. So the biggest thing about investing, I think, and financial consciousness, and we do financial consciousness training every morning. If you want to get an invite, text the word morning to 87948. Just text morning to 87948. One key aspect of financial consciousness training is that you have to have the ability to have a vision that goes beyond yourself. You can't just look at yourself. You got to look at your group, the people behind you. All right, a couple more questions. Let's see here. Gregory, I wanted to see the AI stocks you recommend. Had difficulty getting the list from Instagram. Yeah, text the word stock to 87948. Just text the word stock to 87948, and I'll send you a list of AI stocks. And also, if you don't see it there, you can email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com, and they can find that list for you. All right. So I want to get out of here, guys. I got to go and lay down so I can try to fight through this cold so I don't come in here hacking and coughing. Thank you guys for hanging out. It was great to see you. God bless you, and I hope you have a great day. And also this week, D1, the world-renowned D1, who also has made a lot of money as an independent businessman, is coming in Friday night to basically have a private fireside conversation with blueprints and breakdowns of how he runs his business, how he makes his money. So if you want to join us for that, just make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948, and I'll send you guys a link to join us on Friday. All right, so have a good day, everybody, and thank you guys for hanging out. And thank you also, Amani, so far. And I hope you're doing well. What's my largest holding? Great question, Errol. Errol's so smart. I love talking to Errol. Errol, you're one of my favorite people, period. I just want you to know that. You know what? I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's Amazon. I got to double check, but I think Amazon is where I have my biggest holding. I got to look. I can't remember. I buy so much stuff. I don't always remember everything that represents my biggest holdings. But then again, it's a style, it's a preference, right? Some people invest in a way where they know exactly what they hold in every area all the time. What I do is I look for evidence that tells me that there's a possible catalyst that could push a stock price up, and I add good stocks to my portfolio. And in fact, in a little bit, I'll give you guys a couple of stocks that I identified that I like, that I just bought shares of these companies, and that can kind of help you guys. Also, if you are interested in weed, in what's going on with the weed industry, not smoking weed, I'm not going to smoke with you, but I will invest with you. I want you smoking. I want you to be smoking the kind of weed where you make your weed out of the dollar bills. You crush your dollar bills up and you smoke them. I'm joking. I'm being stupid. But anyway, that's what I'll smoke with you. And so I have a list of cannabis stocks that I pulled together. That if you did not get that list yet, let me know if you all got the list. I sent it out via text, and what I'll do is I'm going to grab the link again today and put that back in the chat so you guys can have that list of cannabis stocks. And y'all got to forgive me. I'm looking all over my computer screen. I got stuff everywhere. But yeah, I call them canna stocks. That's because I just make names up and stuff. But yeah, so the list of canna stocks, it's in here somewhere. I'm going to find it. And when I find it, I'm going to share it. Don't let me forget to share it, because in the mornings when I have all my stuff out everywhere, sometimes I get a little bit lost with stuff. All right, so with that being said, and the reason that I'm really, really interested in cannabis is because I just really believe it's going to be legalized. I don't think that the world we live in now can persist. I think that when you talk about cannabis and crypto, those are just two areas where there's too much legal ambiguity. And so I think that there will be more clarity, regulatory clarity when it comes to crypto, which will benefit a lot of cryptos. In fact, right now, there's an Ethereum ETF that is pretty much approved or close to it. And I think that that's a good reason to be invested with Ethereum. Also with Bitcoin, we've been talking about Bitcoin for a while, and I mentioned to you all that I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. And so there's a lot of opportunities out here. And so let me share this list of the cannabis stocks. I'm gonna put it in the chat, and you guys can grab that if that's of interest to you. Give me 1 second here. Hold on. All right, let's see. Here we go. Okay. Sheesh, I tell you, it's like there's so much information to keep up with. It's kind of hard to. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, thank you, Sonia. Sonia already shared it, so looks like Sonia's on her game. What would I do without Sonia? All right. So anyway, so there's the list right there inside the chat as well. So Sonia also provides her link as well. So let's see here. What else am I noticing? All right. So in terms of opportunities, I do believe that, and I heard an analysis by Kathy Wood, who is interesting. She's super smart, but sometimes she's just wrong. And I don't know if she's wrong about this or not, but I know that it did make sense. She was saying that based on certain historical data, that there's evidence to say that companies that small cap stocks tend to do well in this kind of environment. They don't do well right now, like they're undervalued. And that what's happening right now in the market is that everybody's flocking toward these big companies, these big tech companies. And what tends to happen is that whatever everybody else is flocking toward, that's not really the place you want to be long term. Like everything that's overperforming right now is going to underperform at some point in the near future, and everything that's underperforming now is going to do well later on. So there are some small cap companies
that I took a look at, that I actually invested in. And again, this is not investing advice, but I'll mention them to you. One is a company called Magnite, Magnite, and the ticker symbol is MGNI. I invested in this company solely for the reason for the fact that when I did my research on it, the analysts like it, and also it's a small cap company that should have some possibilities later on down the line as the market evolves. So again, if you want to go take a look at that company, it's MGMI, and the name of the company is Magnite. And so feel free to take a look at that. Again, this is not investing advice, though. Now, what else is happening in the markets? I'll just kind of give you a quick summary. A couple of things going on right now. Basically, the economy is holding pretty steady. There are some risks and catalysts in the economy, particularly in the areas like commercial real estate. A lot of people are concerned about commercial real estate. In addition to that, if you want to look at sectors that seem to be a little bit overvalued, tech is a little overvalued. So all the big tech stocks that everybody loves, a lot of people believe that they're priced so high that even though these are great companies, they may not be great investments. Because remember, a great company does not make for a great investment. And a bad company does not mean it's a bad investment. Also, the Federal Reserve is expected to maintain interest rates higher for longer, which means that these rate cuts that they've been talking about that would have been positive catalysts for your stocks, they're probably not coming for a while. They may do a rate cut in the summer, but for the most part, they're not going to likely do the rate cuts that everyone expected to see, right? And also, some people believe that GDP is going to slow down a little bit in the third quarter of 2024. They're not predicting a recession, but there could be. I mean, they're supposed to be. The economy's done so well that at some point you've got to slow down. You've got, that which goes up has to eventually come down. And so you can expect some sort of economic downturn to occur in the near future. All right. So what I want to do is look at some of your questions here. Let's see. The first question I see comes from Genia Ardrey. She says, I have P&G stock with a holding company. Should I leave it there or move it to another platform to build in order to buy, sell options? Well, if you're talking about buying and selling options, Procter & Gamble is not a stock that we talk about much in the Prime program. Right? So, in terms of options, you'd have to have a lot of shares of Procter & Gamble stock, I expect, to be able to generate a decent income from options. However, if you wanted to move assets over to pursue a particular strategy, you can. But what I do is I sell my options and stuff like that, and that's how I generate my income. But I don't put more than, say, 20%, 15, 20% of my portfolio in that direction. Because you got to remember that every type of investment involves risk. The stocks that give you the most income tend to also have the most volatility. That's why the options market is so active. So in my view, I wouldn't sort of get overly enthusiastic when you see the money come out. I mean, it can be nice though, if you're able to kind of stomach it and just kind of ignore the things that should be ignored, then it does work. I sat with a student this morning who every week he generates about $3,000 a week on his options. And but he was a saver. He saved up over $100,000. And so he's able to put that money in that portfolio and just use that as his income driver. So he doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. So this is an easy out. And those that are interested, if you don't know about the Prime program, a lot of people like it. So feel free to go to drboyceprime.com if you want to take a look at that. It's a really great way to make money. Let's see. Jennifer says, did Dr. Boyce host a private Q&A for Prime members this morning at 10 a.m. Central? No, I did not. Was that, did that pop up on the schedule or something? Did you get a notification or something? Because sometimes Zoom does weird stuff like that. It'll send out stuff announcing that I'm going to do something and I know nothing about it. So if that happens, we've got a great support team. You can email support@theblackbusinessschool.com and they will take care of you. They'll make sure that, that everything that should be a certain way is done a certain way. So email support@theblackbusinessschool.com if you see anything like that, because sometimes I don't catch everything, and so I would love your help in terms of figuring out how we can do things better in the Black Business School. I keep trying to help everybody understand that we are a university, right? A lot of people don't believe a Black man can actually run a university, but my PhD is just as real as the white guys. So we are getting it done, and we educate We educate people on Black wealth better than any institution in the country. There's no HBCU, there's no white university, Harvard, Yale, Stanford. None of these schools do what we do the way we do it because we are kind of the Black wealth surgeon. So that's our specialty. That's what we selected, and that's where we're going to stay, right? So if basically, if you want to see how we can help you, just email the support team, support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Thank you, Rianne, by the way. I see you in the chat. Rianne is on our team. She's in the chat right now. She can answer questions and help you out. Yeah, and the ticker symbol for the stock I mentioned earlier is MGNI. MGMI, I just bought shares of that stock this morning. And this is how I want you to get into the habit of buying stock. I want you to not make it a big deal. Don't overthink it. Just get in there and buy consistently. And when you see stocks that appear to be good opportunities, just buy it. Just do it. You know, just like you go to the store and you buy bread, or you go and you buy a pair of socks. You know, when you buy a pair of socks, you don't sit and spend 6 weeks wondering if you should own socks or not. You just do it. You know, so buy stocks the way you buy socks. Man, look at me. I got bars today. So buy stocks the way you buy socks. And that is literally my best advice for you. And I don't give it investing advice. So let me just take that word back. But you get what I'm saying, that this is how I do it. Just you find stuff that you think is a good buy and you invest it. Because here's the deal. Look, Magnite, the company I mentioned earlier, they provide technology solutions to automate the purchase and sale of digital advertising inventory for buyers and sellers. It features applications and services for digital advertising sellers, including websites, mobile applications, and other digital media properties. Okay, so Magnite, the ticker symbol is MGNI, Mary, Gary, Nancy, Ignition. Basically, think about this. So this stock is $12.60. Okay, now here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now that I bought this stock this morning. I bought a couple $1,000s worth of this stock. If you ask me 2 months from now, hey boys, do you own Magnite? Did you buy any shares of Magnite? I won't remember. I'm going to literally be like, I don't know. Let me check, because I buy anything that looks good. And here's why I don't overthink it, why I don't let it stress me out. So let's say that you buy a few shares of the stock, and let's say that it doesn't go up at all. Let's say that it drops by 40%. Well, what else were you going to do with that money anyway? I mean, maybe you could have bought a different stock, but you don't know. You can't predict stock prices. There's a whole theory called the random walk hypothesis, and I've told you all about this, that says you really can't predict what a stock is going to do. You can make a guess. You can kind of look at sectors and kind of figure some things out, figure out what the risk profile is, but you really don't know. You don't know. So stop trying to know things that you can't know. And stop listening to people who tell you they know things that are really unknowable. This again, I'm not a financial influencer. I am a financial scientist. So I can tell you that the financial science, the research says you can't predict. So stop stressing yourself over things that you can't control and things you can't possibly know. Here's what you do know, though. You lean on what you do know. Here's what you do know is that people who consistently buy stock have more money than people who don't buy stock. Do we agree on that? Give me a yes if I've convinced you of that, if you understand this, if you believe me. This is what the research says. Again, I'm not a financial influencer, I'm a financial scientist. This is what the science says. That's what you do know. So, and what else do you know? Well, you do know that if you save your money or put it into some sort of asset, you're going to have more to show for it than if you take it to the mall and buy a bunch of clothes. Do we agree on that? That if I buy this stock at $12.60 per share, and I put my money in this stock, even if the stock goes south 5 years from now, and let's say it drops from $12.60 to $9 a share, at least I'll still have some money left over. What happens if I go to the mall with that money? And this is the thing. People will avoid investing because they're scared of losing a little bit of money, but will go take that same money and go shopping, which means you're going to lose all your damn money. There ain't hardly nothing you bought in 2017 that you're still using right now. Probably not even your car. So why not try? And here's the third thing. Here's another thing you do know. I can name 20 things that you do know, and then I can name a bunch of stuff you don't know. But here's another thing that you do know. You do know that keeping your money is better than giving it away, right? We do know these things, right? We do know that if I keep my money, I'm going to have more money than if I give my money away. So when you buy stock, what you're really doing is you're putting your money into what they call a store of value. A store of value is like putting my money in a bucket. And if I put my money in a bucket, Another thing I know, this is another thing you add to the list, is I know that if I buy this stock, sure, it might go down, but also if I buy this stock, it might go up. And I know that I don't know if it's going to go up, but at least I know that if I'm in the game, I have a chance to win. If I'm not in the game at all, I have no chance at all. So I buy this stock not because I know it's going to go up, but because I have reason to believe that there's a good chance it could go up. I also know that if I save my money, I'm going to have more than if I give my money away. Um, and then also I know that this stock might double or triple or something. And then because I'm in the game, that's how you win the game. Do you understand? Like when I show you all this stock, let me show you. This is exciting. I saw INSM, and it's fun. Investing, the fun side of investing, it's okay to have fun, is when you get these like Christmases in July kind of thing, or these like really exciting surprises. So let me show you the big surprise for today that really just is going to make my wife want to give me extra kisses today on her birthday. Today's her birthday. And I love my wife a lot, and she's just sexy as hell. She's 50 years old. She wears the same size she wore in college. How about that for a miracle? And she ain't on Ozempic, and she don't smoke crack or nothing. So she actually did it the right way. She actually went to the gym and busted her butt. So shout out to all the hardworking Black women in the world. You deserve the best of us. So here's what happened today that is going to make my wife give me extra kisses when she wakes up. Look at this stock. This is INSMED. The ticker symbol is INSM. It's a pharmaceutical company. I bought these shares because I felt that there was some possibility this stock would go up. It was what I call a pregnant stock. And by pregnant, I mean that the number one driver of stock prices is information. Information is everything. That's why Martha Stewart is doing TV shows with Snoop Dogg, because she traded on inside information. And y'all remember what happened to Martha Stewart? Does everybody know that? Let me know if you remember what happened to Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart went to prison because she traded on inside information. And basically the idea is that to maintain fair and orderly markets, you have to make sure everybody has the same information, so that when that information gets released, it moves prices. And it's not fair if somebody knows what's going to happen before it actually happens. So here, with this stock, based on the volatility characteristics of this stock, I said, okay, I don't know if this stock is going to give birth to a boy or a girl. I don't know if it's going to give birth to a pretty baby or an ugly baby, but you can look at the options activity of a stock and figure out if that stock is pregnant. So INSMED was a stock I pointed out because it looked pregnant. I sold some call options on the stock, made a few $1,000s on that, but I gave up a lot of my upside. And the stock just did a kapoof, right? It went from $22 or something to $46.82, and it doubled in price overnight, pretty much. And this happened. Now, did I know this was going to occur? No, I did not. It's not. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be some sort of financial magician that can predict these things. You can't predict these things. But because if it was predictable, the stock wouldn't have been trading at 22. It would have been trading at 46 all along. But I knew there was a chance, and I knew that in order to get a chance to win, you have to be in the game. So I quietly, sort of slowly, consistently bought shares of this stock. And I did mention it to you guys. I mentioned the stock to you. And actually, I think in the moneymakers list, or actually, I sent something out to you guys on Prime about this. So here with this stock, it's up here. Now, here's what I did at this point. What I did now was, because of my particular style of investing, my goal is to not be greedy. I don't need to make every single nickel. I'd rather protect a dollar than risk a dollar to go try to make a dollar, especially when I'm already way ahead. So just like a basketball game, if you notice, a basketball coach plays a different strategy when he's winning than he does when he's losing. So because I'm the coach that's 30 points ahead in the game, I'm not trying to shoot a lot of 3-pointers. I'm not trying to get 60 points ahead. I want to protect the lead. So, but at the same time, I want that upside. I want it just in case the stock keeps on running. I want to be a part of that. I want to still be in the game so I can have a chance to win. So what I did was I was going to sell some call options on the stock at this price, but the stock moved so much that when I looked for the price of the calls, there was no market for the calls on the stock. Now that might have changed, but when I looked this morning, I literally looked. The current price is $46.74. From what I understand, yeah, you can't, at least not on Robinhood anyway. Maybe on the other apps it's different, but you can't sell a call option on this stock with a strike price above 40, which is just interesting to me because I'm curious to see when that's going to change. The other thing that I did was I didn't buy puts, but what I did, I did a trailing stop loss order. I sold a little bit of my position just to get out, and then I did a trailing stop loss, and that basically means that I gave instructions that say that if this stock keeps going up, then keep holding it. But if it drops 10% above its previous high, get me out. I'm out. I don't want to keep losing money because there's nothing that's really connecting me to this company. There's no reason that I see to want to be a long-term investor. I've done well. I'm happy. I want to put my money into other stable securities. Also, with the market being so strong, I'm stockpiling cash because I told you guys, as I always tell you, winter is coming. Winter is coming. Sunny days don't last forever. Winter is coming. There's going to come a day where you're going to start seeing a change in the headlines. You're going to start seeing all these announcements that the market is going south and it drops again. The Dow has the biggest drop, 2-day drop in history, whatever. You're going to see that bad news. But the good news about bad news is that bad news really ain't bad news unless you want it to be bad. The good news about the bad news is that bad news can actually be good. So it can be bad, not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. Shout out to Run DMC. So basically, when you start seeing those negative headlines, if you are prepared and you have the cash available, then you can go ahead and take advantage of those opportunities because there are people like the Warren Buffetts of the world who just sit back and they stockpile cash. They're just loading up the gun. They're just loading up the gunpowder, putting the bullets in the holster. Or, well, you know what I mean. Don't put bullets in a holster, but you get the point. And they're just kind of getting ready. They're ready to cock and squeeze whenever the market dips. Warren Buffett's sitting on $170 billion in cash, and he's not using it because he doesn't see anything worth buying. But I guarantee you that if the market starts to dip, you're going to see Warren Buffett make some major acquisitions. Now, here's one thing I wanted to mention. I see your question, Anthony, on doing a class on how to do trailing stops. There is one training I did. I did that class. I did a special training on that, and I called it Stormproof Investing. And so if you go to stormproofinvesting.com, stormproofinvesting.com is a training. It doesn't cost that much, and it's yours for life. And I literally went through 6 or 7 different strategies that you can follow to prepare yourself for an economic storm. And so the trailing stop was part of it, but then there's other strategies that we lay out. So feel free to go to stormproofinvesting.com. And not only do we allow you to share anything that you do in the Black Business School with your family, you can share your membership with other people in your family. Just try to be respectful if you can of what we're doing. And not only do we allow you, but we encourage you to do that. So each one teach one. So feel free to do that. Do you do contract trading? You mean for stock options? If that's the case, then yeah, that's drboyceprime.com. So feel free to go to drboyceprime.com. Or if you want an introduction, you can text the word money to 87948. And I have a training called How to Make Money Without Working. It really does work. It's very effective. And so if you want to take a look at that, you can just text the word money to the number 87948. Now, one other company I want to show you that was really interesting too. Just this one gives me, this is like, sometimes you think about an old girlfriend and you kind of smile to yourself, but I don't do that too often because I'm married now, so I'm a good boy. But still, this stock is like a beautiful old girlfriend or something from 20 years ago, and it's Madrigal Pharmaceuticals. And let me show you this. This happened in class. This is pretty cool. This stock was trading about 60 something, and one of the students in the prime class came to me. James Wilson was actually teaching his whole entire church how to trade stock options, which not trade stock options, but generate income from stock options. That's very different from trading. There will be 3 categories of investing, in my opinion. There are long-term investors, there are traders, which is very stressful, very tough to make consistent income. And then there are income generators. Income generators are more on the conservative side. You're not buying risk, you're selling risk. So he's teaching his whole church how to increase their income with stock options, because you have all these people in the church that have, that $40, $50, $80,000 or whatever in home equity or in their 401k, and they want to activate some of that money and generate income from it. Maybe they want to quit their job. And so he's showing the whole church how to do it. And I just love that. So anyway, James came to me with this company and he saw that the options premiums were really high. And I said, okay, so you got a pregnant stock on your hands. Something big is about to happen. So what I did with this stock was I bought a bunch of shares. I not only told them that I like it, but if I like something, I'll invest right along with you, right? I'm in the same game you are. So I bought a bunch of the shares. I sold options on some of the shares, but I didn't sell the options on all the shares because I said, if this stock does take off, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the party. So this stock literally went from $67 per share up to 290, and it did that like overnight, just like that. And so it was like Christmas in July. I don't know how much money James and his wife made, but I'm willing to bet you it was quite a bit because it was how they were positioned. But I don't mean to talk about anybody's personal business. And I made some money too. And so sometimes these things happen. But the thing about it, though, in my opinion, is that in terms of investing strategy, you don't want to think of the market as a casino. Some people, the company is Madrigal Pharmaceuticals. Good question, Stephanie. You don't want to think of the market as a casino. You know, a lot of people sort of invest where they're hoping to hit it big, almost with a lottery kind of mindset. And I don't think that that's a healthy way to invest because you usually don't hit it big like that. And then sometimes you can hit it bad. And really, the reason we created a whole department called Black Financial Therapy is because sometimes when we hit it bad, we don't know how to handle that. And so really, I want to encourage you all to make sure that you understand that emotions are a big part of investing. You know, you can feel the euphoria when you make money, but euphoria is very dangerous. Euphoria can get you in trouble. So even when I made this money today, my first thought was, wow, all right, this is awesome. Then my next thought was, okay, calm down, boys. Let's protect what we have. Because once you get wealth, remember, I've mentioned to you all the 4 steps of wealth, right? Let's go through that really quickly. Number 1 is you have to know where the wealth is located. That's financial consciousness. We do financial consciousness training every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern because a lot of people, they'll never be the money because they can't see the money. They don't know where the money is. Money can literally walk right past them and they will literally wave at it and go in the other direction. So how are you ever going to have the money if you don't understand the money, if you don't know where the money is, you don't know why some people get wealthy and some people don't? That is an awareness that you have to have. And if you ever want to be wealthy, and you'd be amazed how many people talk about, I want to make money, get money, ride or die for money, you know, money over bros and hoes. And, you know, like I die for money. I love money. Well, if you love money so much, then why don't you understand it? Why aren't you studying money? You should be studying the thing that you love. I love my wife. I study my wife. I watch her. I pay attention to what she likes, what she doesn't like. I understand who she is as a person. So the things you love are the things you're going to study. So if you ain't studying money, then you really don't like money the way you say you do. You don't really want financial security. You just want to talk about it. It just sounds good, right? Just like I would talk about wanting to lose weight, but I didn't really want to lose weight because I didn't go to the gym. So that's the first thing is consciousness, awareness, knowing where the money's at. Then once you know where the money is, then you have to have a plan. You know, you got to make a little strategy, lay out the plan. What's the plan to go get the money? How are we going to connect ourselves to the money? The third thing you got to do is you got to execute. You have to follow through on the plan. So you know where the money's at. You made a plan to get the money. Now you got to get up and do the work. You know, so again, we talked this morning in financial consciousness about level 1 versus level 2. Most people are at level 1. Level 1 means everything is one day. One day I'm going to do this. One day I'm going to do that. One day I'm going to have money. One day I'm going to be successful. One day I'm going to work hard. One day I'm going to lose weight. But to me, my question is not what are you going to do one day? My question is what are you going to do today? Level 2. You know, so today I'm going to invest. Today I'm going to learn. Today I'm going to go to the gym. Today I'm going to execute my plan, right? So that execution is really, really important, critical. Put that on your list. Number 4, fourth step in wealth building is once you have done those first 3 steps, you will probably be wealthy. Once you have economic awareness, you've made a plan, and you've executed the plan and you've allowed time to grow your wealth because when you are executing the plan, you're planting little seeds and when you plant seeds and you let them grow, they grow into big sycamore trees. So now you're sitting on money, you're sitting on success, you're sitting on all these things. Well, the 4th thing you have to do is you must protect that. You must protect that because remember, especially when you're Black, this is really true when you're Black. You know, I hate to say it, but it's true. When you get money, you're sitting in the middle of a space sometimes where nobody has money except for you, where most people don't have the success you have. They don't have the prosperity you have. They're not doing as well as you, right? You know what I mean? And so what happens is you kind of end up becoming vulnerable to those who want what you got. You know, when I started making money, and I was a single man, I suddenly became very handsome. I didn't know how handsome I was until I had money. My jokes were funnier. I was the most interesting man in the world. I got attention from women that didn't pay me any attention when I was a broke student in grad school, and that was new. I didn't know that. I was like, I'm the same guy. Why am I being treated so different? This is weird, you know. But now, as I read books about it, it's natural. It happens, right? So same thing happens with when you have money, you get more friends. Everybody wants to be friends with the rich guy, right? And so what I would say to you is that protection of the wealth, it really sticks out in a lot of different ways. And I'm not going to go through all the different ways because it would take all day. Because remember, I spent a lot of time studying risk management, which is basically an awareness of all the vulnerabilities and threats that exist around you. That's what that is. And I studied risk management under a guy named Renee Stoltz, who is probably one of the top 3 leading experts on the planet in risk management. He would travel all around the world and teach banks how to manage their risk, right? So I edited a textbook for him when I was in graduate school. So I spent a lot of time thinking about risk and vulnerability and how to protect yourself. And that there's a long list of ways you have to sort of know how to protect what you have, because if you don't protect your wealth, you're going to lose it. 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in one generation. 90% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in 2 generations. So why in the hell would you work your ass off for 20, 30 years, bust your butt, grind into the ground to build all this wealth, and then you hand it to your kids and they just literally take the ball and throw it out of bounds, like a basketball game. You work really hard to get the ball down the court and you pass it to your teammate and they throw the ball out of bounds. Or you are a football team and you work really hard and you grind it to run the offense and get all the way down to the 18-yard line, and you set the kicker up for a great field goal and he just kicks it he goes wide right. Like, that's got to just make these guys so mad because they work so hard to get to that point. And that's what I see when I see families that work hard and grind and push and do everything you got to do. You make a plan, you execute the plan, and then you pass the ball to your kids, and your kids are not trained to protect the ball, so you lose everything. So in this case, that doesn't just exist on a macro level, it exists on a micro level. So on a micro level, when I had this win, when the stock doubled overnight, I'm like, woohoo, this is great. My next thought was, how do I protect this? How do I protect this? And that's when you go into defense mode. Now I went from playing offense. We got down the field. Now we're going to play some defense. So you got to defend your positions. And so what I would encourage you to do is this. Right now, the market's doing really well. Right now, it's raining money in the stock market. And if you've missed this, I feel bad. I hate that. I hope I can convince you to go take a look, because the money is everywhere. But it ain't going to always be everywhere. Winter is coming. Bad things are going to happen. So what you do is you buy your umbrellas when the sun is out. You never buy umbrellas in the rain, because when the rain comes down, everybody's buying umbrellas. So the price of umbrellas goes way up. So you buy your umbrellas in the sun. So when I'm in the middle of the sun and I'm feeling good about this win, first thing I do is try to protect that win by shaving some shares off the top, maybe looking at some put options, maybe some stop loss orders, all that other stuff. Okay. So again, if you want to take a look at that training where we spent the whole day going through that, it's free. Well, it's not free. I'm sorry. It's a very low cost and it's yours for life though. Just go to stormproofinvesting.com. That's stormproofinvesting.com and share it with your whole family. You don't have to just, it's not just yours. It's anybody in your family you want to share it with. Also, someone was asking about the options training. Yeah. If you go to drboyceprime.com, that'll get you there. So Rianne, I see someone mentioned that the links aren't working. Can you talk to that student for me, Rianne? So I see Rianne also put text the word money to 87948 for the training. So it's about an hour-long presentation I did on how to make money without working. I know you're gonna like it. So feel free to text the word money to 87948, and you can also go to drboyceprime.com. Okay, I think you're in there. Is Rianne? Rianne, are you still in there? I assume Rianne is in there. So let's see here. Okay, thank you, Rianne. Yeah, it looks like Kevin has a question too. So maybe y'all can even talk offline or get an email address and share information that way too. So help each other out. All right, so let's answer some more questions here. Kevin says, it's the method that Boyce uses to pick his stocks, which he presents in Stock Market Tuesdays, more oriented toward fundamental analysis or technical analysis. You know what, Kevin? I use fundamental analysis. Technical analysis is not really so encouraged amongst financial scientists. If you go to academic finance, when I was working on my doctorate, if I'd said that I believe in technical analysis, there's a good chance I might have got kicked out of my program. But there are some caveats to that. There are some exceptions for sure. There are some areas of technical analysis that actually do hold true. Which technical analysis, in case you all don't know, it's kind of like when you're looking at charts and you're looking at these bands of trading and and resistance levels and stuff like that. And I'm just going to tell you, if you went to MIT, with some of the best financial scientists on the planet, and you said that's how I trade stocks, there's a good chance that a lot of them would not take that seriously. But I don't think that that's completely accurate. Just because that's what they believe doesn't mean that's 100% true. Part of my dissertation was actually on a type of technical analysis that focused on reversals and momentum. So sometimes it makes sense if you think about how human beings operate. It kind of means, when the prices go up, there's a good chance they're going to kind of get pulled down because people take their wins and they make adjustments, they sell their shares and stuff like that. But I'm more of a fundamental analysis person. And really fundamental analysis long term, in my opinion, is more effective as an investing strategy for one basic reason. It's very rare that you're going to find a good company with good fundamentals that knows how to make money, where that investment in that company isn't going to lead you to make more money over the long term. If you look at almost any company that has growing revenues, growing net income, growing market share, just a good, solid, quality business, quality management, all that, and you invest in that company over, say, a 5 or 10 year period, you're usually not going to lose, right? And definitely not if you do it in a portfolio, right? Most investing really should be done in a portfolio. You should not be, according to financial science, you should not be focused on any individual stock. Okay, so I don't really get caught up in individual stocks. I look at them as collectives, as groups. So that style of looking at stocks, that fundamental analysis, is consistent with how Warren Buffett invests. If you listen to Warren Buffett talk, which I think everybody should, I like that guy a lot. He's accumulated his $200 billion in cash pretty much by investing in quality businesses. He's not into the technical analysis, none of that. He just tries to figure out, do you have good management? Do you have good product? Do your customers like you? Is your revenue growing? Your income growing? That kind of thing. That's what Buffett does, and it works. And why? Well, because Buffett is a buy and hold investor. He's not a trader, right? But that doesn't mean he knows everything, though. There's been many occasions where he's missed out on lots of money because he didn't try to time the market, or he didn't participate in a market frenzy or whatever. So Buffett ain't perfect, but I like Buffett's style because it's solid. It's conservative. He learned how to invest from a book by two people named Graham and Dodd called Value Investing that was written like literally in 1932 or 33. But him and Charlie Munger are pretty old. So they're probably teenagers or something. I guess for them, that was the hot, hip, cool new book that was out there. Okay, so has Boyce bought anything so far? Yeah, MGMNI. There we go. Thank you, Joni and Margaret. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it's MGNI. That was the stock I mentioned earlier. There's another stock that I actually bought today. Let me see here. What was the ticker symbol was RCKT, and it was a pharmaceuticals company. Let me see. I'm going to read about the company and tell you guys more about it. Okay. And these are more long-term investments. So just so you know, these are investments that I believe will do well in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not talking about stuff that's going to do well tomorrow. Okay. So let's not get caught up in that casino mindset. So yeah, Rocket Pharmaceuticals, it's a clinical stage biotech company which engages in the development of gene therapy treatment options for rare and devastating pediatric diseases. So just based on my research, that's a company I decided I want to take some ownership in. So there we go. All right. So let me answer more questions. And by the way, that list of cannabis stocks that I mentioned, or I call them canna stocks because you say that other word too much. I don't know, if I put it in an email or something, they'll think I'm selling drugs. I like those canna stocks. I'll share that link again for those of you that didn't get it. I can't even find the freaking link. Just get on the text list. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948. Or you can also email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com, and they can get you the list, because I can't. I got too many screens open and I'm confusing myself. So, all right. So, yeah, and I know y'all didn't come here to listen to me be confused. Okay. So, Jennifer says, what are the pros and cons of using margin to buy stocks? The pros of margin, Jennifer, is that margin is debt. Debt is an economic accelerator. Debt is something that will push you faster in whichever direction you're going. So if you're going in a good direction, debt will make more good things happen for you. If you're going in a bad direction, debt will accelerate the pain and the badness of your situation. So debt is like driving a super fast car, and it's going to get you to your destination faster. But if you drive it sloppily, it can crash and get you killed. So I'm a fan of debt, especially if it's used responsibly. Most millionaires and billionaires have used debt to get to where they are. If Elon Musk did not have access to debt, then he would not be the guy that he is right now. He would not be the billionaire that he is today. So, so debt can be a good thing. Don't let anybody tell you that debt is always bad. But at the same time, people that tell you that you're a sucker if you don't use debt, or you're stupid if you don't leverage to the hilt, those are people that have a gambling mindset who've never experienced the kind of devastating losses that can occur if you go too deep in debt. So debt is something that has to be used very carefully. But I do trade on margin because I like margin, because margin is basically access to capital. Access to capital is sometimes more important than actually having capital. If you gave me a choice and you said, boys, which would you rather have? $10 million right now, or the ability to control Warren Buffett's money for 6 hours? I would rather be able to control Warren Buffett's money for 6 hours, because I could make far more than $10 million in 6 hours with Warren Buffett's money. Or maybe it might take a day or something, but still, it would be far more than $10 million. The ability. So this is why I mentioned to you all, say it in the chat for me, please, because I have to keep repeating this to make sure we know this. What's the most important thing that a young person can have that's more important than a college degree? Somebody answer in the chat. I know some of y'all know. I know Errol knows the answer. What's the most important thing that you can give your children that will set them up for life? More important than a college degree, more important than a good job, more important than a nice car or a $20,000 prom. Right? It's a capital base. It's a capital base. And I need everybody to understand what a capital base is. A capital base is a collection of assets that you have that are available to you that allow you to generate the income you need to live your life. And because if everybody had a capital base, you wouldn't have to go to work every day. You wouldn't have to go get a job. The reason you have to get a job is because you don't have a capital base. Which means that you have to depend on someone who does have a capital base for you to get the income you need. So you have to ask them to help you because no one made a plan for you. And so what the Black Wealth Master Plan does is it positions everyone who cares enough about their future, their family, and their children to just exactly a direct path to building a capital base. So that when you drop that 22-year-old off in the game of life and they're out here in this economic struggle, they're not going out here butt naked. If they go out here butt naked with no, financially speaking, of course, if they go out here butt naked with no support and no capital base, they're going to have to beg a capitalist to pay their bills. They're going to have to sell themselves into slavery. And this is the biggest problem people have. The biggest stressor that Black people have is who they work for every day and having to get up and do something they don't want to do. That's not connected to your passion. That's eating up all your time, taking you away from your kids, make you do things you don't want to do. Even medical doctors are in a trap too. We think that, if I go and become a doctor or a lawyer, then that's going to liberate me in a certain way. Well, no. I mean, if you go to school for 12 or 13 years so you can make the income of a surgeon, which let's say that's $500,000 a year, a capital base will be better than that. If your parents saved up for you and got you 1,000 shares of Coinbase stock, you could sell options on Coinbase stock at the age of 21 and make more money than a surgeon. So, so what would that take to build the capital base? Well, 1,000 shares of Coinbase stock only costs about $240,000, and Robinhood will loan you half of that money. So you come up with 120 grand, which is far less than what a house would cost. You can make almost as much money as a surgeon without a college degree. So I'm telling you all, I have not seen a single person anywhere say this. When I started doing this stuff back in 2006, 2007, there are things I started saying back then that no one was saying then, and everyone's saying them now, talking about generational wealth and all that. Well, this is the thing I'm saying in 2024 that no one else is saying now, but everyone's going to be saying this by the year 2030 because I'm going to repeat it until I'm dead. The most important thing you can give your kids is a capital base, not a degree, not a good job. None of those things are as good as having a capital base, because when you have your own capital, you have your own life. You have literally bought yourself out of slavery, and you can really get to the business of living. Donald Trump was 28 years old, not chasing corporate jobs. He was not paying off student loans. He was not struggling to pay for an apartment. He was 28 years old, purchasing a $400 million building. I don't like this man at all. I'm not putting him on a pedestal. I don't care what your politics are. But shit, when rich people are doing stuff on that level, when they're playing above the rim, I would encourage you to pay very close attention to how they got to that level. So get past your emotions. Get past this Democrat Republican nonsense. Figure out how they did it. Reverse engineer that. So capital base. There you go. I hope that sunk in. All right. And if you want to get started on that, I should give you, just to give you the resource, go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. It's free. It's the $5 a day plan. That'll help you build that capital base for your child. blackwealthmasterplan.com. All right. So let's keep going. Okay. What are your thoughts on APLS? I got it when you mentioned it. Okay. APLS. Let's look at that stock. I think I still own it somewhere. APLS is Apellis Pharmaceuticals. Okay, it's had a rough month, 16% decline. I think it's a great company for long-term ownership. If you're trying to do an option strategy with it, it doesn't work so well for options, but I do like it as a long-term investment. And remember, when I pick the stocks on what Dr. Boyce is buying, these are stocks that are expected to do well. Like you got to hold them for a while. They're not, it's not like instant microwave food. It's the kind of stuff you got to leave in the crock pot for a while to really make it work. So some of these stocks may not show their strength for a year or 2 or 3. So don't buy a stock now and then try to see how it's doing 2 weeks later. That's not really how investing ends up working out. You make these investments long term. And by the way, if you want to take a look at the, I do the stock picks for what Dr. Boyce is buying. If you want to go take a look at some of that, I think you can go to drboycestocks.com, drboycestocks.com. So every week I research and curate a list of about 5 stocks that I like as long-term investments. So go to drboycestocks.com if you want to take a look at that. All right, so let's see. ASGG says, what do you recommend for beginners like me, single mother with 2 kids under 7? Blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's a great place to start. So there you go. That's the $5 a day plan. And anybody can do it, even if you don't have a high income. $5 can't even buy you a value meal at McDonald's, but they are coming out with the $5 value meal again, though. And the franchisees are complaining because they said we can't possibly sell our product for $5 because that's not enough profit margin. And so literally I set the $5 a day plan because I had a lot of people that I got tired of hearing their criticism. I call them the Negro naysayers. These are the people that create a problem for every solution. They don't know what they're talking about, and they'll sit down and argue with a PhD all day instead of hearing what I have to say. And a lot of these people have never taken a class in finance. They don't know. They're living in their mama's basement, and they'll say things like Black people can't afford to invest, and investing is only for rich people and white people and all this other stuff. And so to break that myth, I created the $5 a day plan. And I said, so if you think Black people can't afford to invest, I just asked, can Black people afford to buy chicken? And of course, the answer is yes, because we buy all the chicken. And so I said, okay. So because I said, look, if I took a Popeyes chicken restaurant and put it in the poorest, most depleted neighborhood in America, there would be a line out the door, around the corner, and down the block by that afternoon, full of people that shouldn't even be eating fried chicken, but they're going to go get it. So if we can afford chicken, then we can afford to invest. So I did $5 a day. And if you don't know, some of y'all know this, but repetition is important because I want this to become part of the culture. So basically, after 10 years of taking $5 a day or $35 a week, or you could do $150 a month, whatever pace you are comfortable with, you do that in the S&P 500 based on historical averages, you have roughly $29,000 liquid. That means you're not poor anymore. So after 1 decade, you're not poor. You're out of poverty in a decade. A decade is not very long. A lot of y'all been in bad relationships for a decade. There's a lot of things. I know people that have been thugging in the streets for a decade. I know people that did a decade in prison. People that have had horrible jobs for a decade. So a decade is not a long time to sacrifice. So you're out of poverty in a decade. After 20 years, you have $100,000 liquid, roughly, give or take a few thousand. After 30 years, you have close to $250,000. After 40 years, you have close to $750,000. So you do this for your child on the day that they're born. By the time they are 40 years old, you've broken every generational curse. You officially have a wealthy family, because most families don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars liquid, right? So so once I created the $5 a day plan, those criticisms pretty much went away. There was nobody who would ever come into my face and tell me that Black people can't afford to invest, because they know that I could easily shoot it down with that simple argument. And so what I've also done though is I challenge those of you that can do more than $5 a day or more than $150 a month to really, really push yourself. Like it doesn't make any sense to me if you're only investing $100 a month, but you're spending $500 a month on a car note. I'm not judging you for that. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I think you should judge yourself. I think you should say, dang, why would I give more money to the car dealer than I give to the future of my own family, and still feel good about that? The reason that you do that is because you were trained to do that. That's what you were taught that Black people do. We're supposed to give more to other people than we give to ourselves. And I'm not telling you not to get the car. I want you to if you want to get the Mercedes, get you a Benz. I want you looking nice when you're driving around the city, but I want you to handle your business first. So in my view, one perspective is, if I'm a good parent, I'm not going to spend more money on the car dealer's kids than I invest in my own. So if I'm spending $600 a month on my Benz every month, I'm going to put $600 a month in my stock portfolio every month. And that is not just my children's wealth. That's our family wealth. We are connected. We are connected. If I do for you, I'm doing for myself. That's an ecosystem. Stop thinking that it's either me or them. That's nonsense. That's very anti-family. It's very anti-wealth. It's very anti-community to say, well, if I take care of you, I'm not taking care of me. And that feeds into the crabs in the barrel competition that we see that ends up destroying us so much. If we are an ecosystem, then when I pass you the ball, I'm passing the ball back to myself. When I take care of you, I'm taking care of me. So when I'm putting this money in this account, it's not like I'm only doing this so that my children can do well 30 years from now and I'm going to be depleted and live a horrible life. No, that's your money. You're investing your money, and your money becomes their money. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do y'all get what I'm saying? I need y'all to really meditate on this point. That wealth is a team sport. So when I'm helping the team, I'm helping myself. Stop thinking that if I help the team, I'm putting myself last and all that. You got all these people doing these stupid internet conversations. Well, I got to put me first, and I had to value me and know my worth because me. If there's a we, and I'm taking care of we, and I'm taking care of us, then I'm also taking care of me. You understand? Like it doesn't have to be one or the other. Stop thinking that way. If I take care of my wife and my kids, I'm taking care of boys too. Boys ain't gonna be depleted. Boys is gonna live good. So when you're building that wealth in the $5 a day plan, that is your money. I don't even think you should put it in the name of your kids until they are ready. That is your money. That is the family's money. And your job as the steward of the family's money and the family's wealth and the family's protection and the family's freedom, your job as the steward is you must protect the family legacy. That's your job. Like, okay, I have responsibility. It's like if we have a big corporation and let's say I'm the fifth Disney to be able to run the Disney corporation, my job is to take this thing that's kind of mine, but really it's not totally mine. It's really ours. So while I'm in charge, it's like we're all in the same damn car and I'm the one who's driving. In a little while, my brother's going to drive. After a while, my kids are going to drive. But right now, when I'm driving the car, I got to make sure I don't crash the car. That's it. So it is your car, but it's not your car. But it's not your car, but it is. Do you understand? So you get to enjoy the car, even though it's not your car. Do you follow? Does that make sense? And I think that if we think about it that way as a group, then we get around all this selfish bullshit that you see all over the internet. Like if I get married, it's like, well, I can't do this, and I'm not gonna sacrifice that and all that. Everybody has to sacrifice, but everybody wins from everyone's sacrifices. We all sacrifice for each other. That's how you succeed as a team. The Chinese get that, by the way. The Chinese get that. I showed you all that video the other day of the little Chinese kids dribbling basketballs together where they had like 50 of them sharing the ball, and then they would dribble for a second, then they would move, and they would go to the next ball and the next one. And literally if one kid messes up, the whole thing falls apart. And what they're doing is they're training them to understand that we are a collective. We are one. Everybody has a job. Everybody does their job, and then the whole team wins. China wins. Not just you, but China. But then you win because China's winning, because you are one of us. Let me stop. I hope that helped. I didn't mean to go off on the tangent, but it's very important to understand these things. So invest for yourself, But just know that if you invest for yourself, you're taking care of your kids. When you take care of you, you're taking care of them because they are you. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Margaret says a link is not working. So I don't know what link Martha is referring to, or Margaret is. I said Martha. I'm sorry, Margaret. Can you talk to Margaret, Rianne? Because I'm not sure what link Margaret is referencing. So if there's a link that's not working, let me know. Or if you want to email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, they can help you with that because I'm not sure which link you're referencing. My apologies. Okay, so let's see. Eugene says, do you have Ethereum? Yes, I do. By small cap, do you mean small capital? These are smaller companies in the S&P 500 or even in the NASDAQ. These are just companies that have smaller valuations. And because there are so many big companies in America, it's crazy. Like small cap is like $1 billion in market value. You'll have like a $2 or $3 billion company, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's a little small, tiny business. So this really reflects the racial disparity in access to capital. So when we have a company that grows to say 20 million or 50 million, it's a very big deal for us. But in the whole scope of things, in the white community, if a company is $100 million company, nobody cares, nobody pays attention. They look at that almost like a small business. So this is why conversations about things like reparations are so important, in my opinion. Can you repeat the stocks? I lost connection for a few minutes. Sure, Lawanda. The stocks that I mentioned earlier are MGNI. I can give you the tickers. MGNI. If somebody could type these into the chat, I'd appreciate it. MGNI. That's Mary, Garrett, Nancy, India. And then the second is RCKT, and that's Robert, Cat, Kitten, and Tiger. In case you're wondering why I don't remember the phonetic alphabet as much as I took a break from flying. I was doing my flying lessons up until about October and November last year, and then the convention kind of got me caught up, and I haven't flown since then. I feel kind of bad about it, but at some point I want to go back out there. All right, so let's see. Ricky says, Dr. Boyce, when selling options, if the option isn't used, the seller of the options makes money on the premium purchase from the option. Yeah. So Ricky, that question is more so for options class. So today I want to focus more so on stocks. If you want to see examples on kind of how to handle different situations, if you log into drboyceprime.com, you'll see that I've done a ton of trainings on it, and you can take a look at some of those. And then also you can leave questions for me. And I'd rather kind of separate the two because I don't want to talk over anybody's head for those that don't understand how options work. So that's a little bit of a detailed sort of question, but I'd be more than happy to answer it during Prime class. Okay, so Jania says, to make sure I understand, P&G isn't good for options, so it's not necessary to move from a holding company to accumulate 100 shares to trade options. Yeah, I don't think P&G is great for options. It's a great long-term investment, but not so great for options, in my opinion. Donna Stroud, what is the recommended trading platform to use for someone new to options? We use Robinhood in class, but there's others out there. There's Tasty Trade. You can do stuff on Schwab and E-Trade, stuff like that too. Let's see. Is buying stocks and holding a good plan? Yes, it is a great plan. In fact, that is a plan everybody should follow 100%. Let's see. Are you still in development on the investment course for baby boomers? Gerald says, yes, we're actually almost done with an estate planning, legacy building training. And I mentioned to you all, we do money in the morning. And because some of you had specific questions about specific areas, I said, okay, well, let's create something. We created something called Money in a Minute. And Money in a Minute basically solves one problem that I was thinking about, is that sometimes when we want to go study something, it requires a lot of time and a lot of work. You got to sit down for 30 minutes or an hour. And sometimes that causes us to delay or even procrastinate on these things. So I said, okay, so in Money in a Minute, maybe what we can do is have something that you can sign up for at a reasonable cost that we'll text you the lesson out every day. So we'll give you like a 90-second bite-sized lesson on some concept related to that topic that will allow you to learn within the flow of your day. So Money in a Minute is what we're creating. And it happens that Money in a Minute, the acronym is Miami. So I think the URL is going to be something like drboycemiami.com, which is kind of cool, right? So yeah, so Money in a Minute, one of the first programs we're going to do options. And we're also going to do legacy building, estate planning. So this is more so for boomers, because boomers actually are part of the greatest wealth transfer in American history. They're passing trillions of dollars mostly to their wives. The men are giving it to their wives because women live longer than men. So This is going to be very empowering for women in that space because women are going to just have a ton of money. So we got to be nice to the ladies. And then in a few years, the women will pass on and pass the wealth to their children. So the Gen Xers are going to be the richest in America in about probably a decade or so. But yeah, we'll be Gen Xers because a lot of the boomers, I hate to say it, but time passes and you know what happens when time passes. But we love y'all. We want you here forever. All right, so Kuana says, if you had $5K to invest today, which stocks do you like best for trading options? Yeah, I like those stocks, Riot, Marathon. Yeah, those are good ones. Those are ones that I actually trade on myself. Chet, give us that name again, the risk management guy. His name is Renee Stultz, Renestultz. Renee Stultz, Stulz. Feel free to look him up. Smart guy. Let's see. I sold call options on INSM. Now this jump, do I have to wait until it expires? No, you don't have to. Well, you don't really have to do anything. You could wait till it expires, or you could buy the option back, but they're going to be very expensive to buy back. But that's only if you are under the assumption that the price is going to keep on going up. So, it's up to you to decide how to respond to that. Let's see, Michael, if you sell 10,000 in stock options or 1,000 contracts with $10 stock, how do you buy puts to protect it? Is it put option contracts or put contracts? How many would you buy? If I have 1,000 contract or 1,000 shares, I would buy 1,000 puts. 1,000 contracts is actually 100,000 shares. So I think you mean 1,000 shares, which is 100 contracts. Or sorry, 10 contracts. Sorry about that. So 10 contracts is 100 shares because every contract is 100 shares. Sorry, let me say that again because I think I said it wrong. 10 contracts is 1,000 shares because each contract is 100 shares. So you have 10 of those, and that's what you would do with that. Kevin, is it a good or bad idea to buy a bond fund on a day when the stock market is going up? Can you explain why or why not? I think bond funds, stock, or really any kind of fund like that, I would think of it more longer term. I don't really, sure, if the prices drop that day, that it could be a buying opportunity. But if you're a long-term investor, 5 years from now, you won't remember what happened on May 28th, 2024. You won't care. You won't, because there's hundreds of other days, thousands of other days that will occur between now and then. So rather than reacting to what happened that day, I would just look at the fundamentals of whether or not you feel long-term that this is a good investment for you. That should be, in my view, the driving method behind how you choose your stocks. If you want to take a look at something that may help you with this, we did a Black Stock Market weekend where we spent the whole weekend going through 11 steps to deciding if a stock should be in your portfolio. We actually branded it. It's called the Dr. Boyce Method. So if you go to the drboycemethod.com, you can get access to that training. It's yours for life. I think it's like $60 or $70 or something like that, but it's really, really good. So you can go to the drboycemethod.com. So feel free to take a look at that. Are there any REITs you would recommend? I think REITs from companies like Vanguard and BlackRock are pretty good. They tend to know what to do with money. So you can just search for REITs, and there's plenty in there that are really good. What do you think about SDGR? Okay, SDGR. Let me see here. SDGR. Schrodinger. Okay, I've never heard of this company. They engage in the provision of chemical simulation software solutions. Okay, for pharmaceutical companies. Let me see. I don't like it. It doesn't. It looks like the company's having some problems. And if you were a holder in this stock the last 5 years, you would have lost 15% of your money. There's nothing about it that really jumps out at me. So that's my opinion. But it's not a fact. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. Kevin, a couple of weeks ago, you shared a list of energy stocks. Is that info still available? It should be. If you go to what Dr. Boyce is buying, or if you go to drboycestocks.com, you can get access to any list that I've ever released. If I sent it out as a special release for that week or something, that's hard to go get. But if you're on the text list, you'll get stuff from me. So make sure you're on the text list. You can text the word. Another word you can text is the word stock to 87948, and I'll send you a bunch of stuff that way. So feel free to text stock to 87948. The thing I would warn you about, though, is if you get on multiple lists, you'll get a lot of messages from me because we send out a lot of information from the Black Business School. So if you don't mind me being in your inbox every day, then feel free to do that. But if you don't like it, then if you just stop responding or stop clicking the links, it'll take you off the list, okay, eventually. So I don't want to bother anybody, but I have a lot of stuff that is happening and a lot of things that we'd like to do to help you. So, and the way and in case you want to know how we run the Black Business School, is we believe everything is an ecosystem. So within this ecosystem, our belief is that if we show you value and we give you lots of support, lots of free stuff, that when we come along and we have something that does have a fee attached, you'll consider supporting us the way we support other businesses, the way we support white-owned companies and we buy things from them. We have to make money. We have a team, we have to pay. We are an independent entity. We're not like an HBCU that gets money from the government, because we don't want money from the government. We don't get a bunch of corporate sponsors. We're not looking for that. We don't want that. We have to maintain our independence, and freedom is not free. So I hope that you'll understand that when we mention something that we're doing in the school and we say that there is a fee attached. And I hope you'll compare it to what you would have to pay if you were at a university and signing up for a class, or the amount of money that we spent going to college and getting absolutely nothing of any value. Everything that we offer you gives you value. And if you don't feel like it gives you value, then we don't want your money. And in fact, we'll give you your money back. If you do something and you're like, gosh, this isn't helping me, then no, that's not the deal. But if we're giving you value and you feel that participating in what we're doing is making your life better, then we hope that you'll also, say, okay, they supported me, they helped me level up, we're going to help them level up. And this is how you build strong institutions. If you look at, say, the Anti-Defamation League in the Jewish community, they go to the community. They say, give us money because we need money in order to build this institution that's here for everybody, right? So that's why we have to ask for money. And it's a little weird, it's awkward because there's one guy on Twitter who said, why are you always trying to sell something? And I was like, I'm not trying to sell stuff. I'm offering things. And some things I offer are free. Some things I offer have a fee. You don't have to pick any of that. But if you see the value, then why not invest in things that are actually going to help you? And also, one thing that we do really well is we're really good at educating your children. And in our Black Business School for Children, it's called Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. Our kids, when they go through our program, they have a financial literacy level that is higher than the average college educated adult. This is how good we are at what we do. And so if you want to take a look at that for your kids, you can get started at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. So what we just ask people is we say, look, we don't need you. We don't want anything that we don't earn and we don't deserve, or we're willing to prove our worth before we ask for anything. But at the same time, we just want you to support us as much as you supported that big white university that took $100,000 out of your family's pocket. Support us 1/10 as much as you support them. Because I know that those people at the University of Iowa didn't care anything about your family. They don't care anything about your community. A lot of them didn't even want you on the campus, but yet you gave them $100,000. Well, why not support a Black-owned institution that really does care about what happens in this community? And we have the track record to prove it. So there we go. There's my little spin on what the Black Business School believes and why we exist. So I hope that helps and it makes sense for you. All right, so let's see here. Next question is, how do you determine the percentage on the trailing stop order? There's no rule with that. It's just a matter of feel. So I picked 10% just because it felt right. But if it hadn't felt right, I would have picked 5% or 15%. So I would say, feelings are a big part of investing. We talk a lot about investing with emotions and stuff like that. And it's okay to have your emotions work in your favor. As long as your emotions help you, then it's okay. Right. So, when we talk about risk management, I always tell the students in the Prime program, ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid that the stock is going to take off on me? Then you can hedge against that. Am I afraid the stock is going to collapse on me? Well, you can hedge against that too. So the question is, ask yourself, what are you afraid of? And that's how you can figure out what the right move is. Jennifer, do you think it would be wise for a beginner to buy stocks and write options using margin? It could be wise to learn, but I would be really careful. I'd be extremely conservative about the approach. And I do a few one-on-ones if you ever wanted to schedule something like that. If you email the support team, support@theblackbusinessschool.com, we could do that. Or also we have small group sessions. And in addition to that, I did create my first mastermind. I think we're almost filled up though, but it's more so for those that are more advanced. They have a little more of a capital base. And so if you want to take a look at any of those things, just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Okay, a couple more questions and then we're going to bounce out for today. When selling options, is it better your shares are called, or the contract expires without execution. You know what, Lawanda, it's not so much about one thing being better than the other. Typically, if you're selling out of the money call options, if the price goes up, that's better for you. That's better for everybody. You just may not get all the money, but it's better than if the stock collapses on you. But the benefit obviously is that if the stock doesn't hit the strike price, then you can sell that same contract and keep generating that income every week without making any adjustments. So there's a win no matter what. And the thing about investing, in my opinion, is the goal in becoming a good investor is not so much just sort of knowing how to win all the time. It's sort of knowing how to find the bright side of any situation. If the market goes up, that's a bright side. The stuff you own is doing really well. The market goes down, that's a bright side. You can buy stuff really, really cheap. So, and then also sort of knowing how to manage your risk so that when things happen, you're not going to get surprised or broadsided. You know, it's so knowing investing is about knowing what you're getting into, not being able to predict everything, because that's pretty much impossible. It's just sort of knowing what you're getting into and knowing how you want to be positioned based on what you think personally is going to happen. Let's see, how do I feel about LVMH, Moet Hennessy? That company is owned by Bernard Arnault, who I believe is the richest man on earth. And Bernard Arnault, he does exactly what we talk about in the Black Business School. He has all of his kids that they're all going to run his company. Like, it's funny, you got LVMH, the Moet Hennessy company, where all these Black people love it. Rappers rap about it. And what they're doing is they're sitting around constantly plotting and planning for the next generation. And why can't I find it? Why doesn't it pop up in Robinhood? Let me see here. Maybe I don't know. That's kind of strange. Let me see. It's on the NASDAQ. Okay. So let me see here. I like the company as a good long-term investment. And if you had it over the last 5 years, you would have made a return of 114%. So your money basically would have doubled. So in that regard, I like the company as a long-term investment. Now, if you talk about, let's talk about LVMH and Bernard Arnault. And let me do some quick research on this, because I think it's really interesting how he runs his family. And I really encourage those of you that are generational wealth builders to really kind of understand this. Hold on. Because he has his kids running parts of his business. And he meets his kids. He has a monthly meeting with them, and they all sit around and he talks about different parts of the business. So he understands his role as a wealth builder and a generational wealth builder to be the teacher of his own children. He teaches them, how to run the company and how to do things. So let me tell you about some of his kids. So he has a kid named Delphine, or daughter. She runs Christian Dior. And so she has a lot of experience. He meets with all these kids every single month to make sure that they're ready. His other son, Antoine, runs communication and environmental issues for LVMH. He's also the CEO of Berluti, one of his brands. Alexandra she now has a big role at Tiffany. Frederic is the CEO of Tag Heuer, Tagheuer, which is their watch division. And then there's Jean Arnault, who oversees marketing and product development for Louis Vuitton's watch division. So what he did was he sent his kids to business school and all that, I believe. But once they came home, he said, I don't need you out here serving other people. I need you serving the family business. And he did what the Rothschilds did. I talked to you all about the Rothschild family. And the biggest thing the Rothschild family did was they taught their children how to operate on a code of conduct. He taught them what was important. He said, this family is what matters. This name is what matters. This is what you protect. This is what you defend. This is where you bring your best energy and your best resources. Now, I want you to compare that to the Black community. Most of us, unfortunately, are trained to say, go to school and then you can get a good job and then you can go represent a white guy. That's it. That's what we do. We all go find separate white people to go work for. And it sounds maybe I don't know if it sounds racist to people when I say it, or radical, but that's what happens. There's not even a conversation about, like, okay, how can we pour into this family as much as we're pouring into everybody else? So when you're pouring into everybody else and you're not pouring into yourself, Why would you be surprised when your wealth is depleted? Your best and brightest, your best resources, your best everything go somewhere else. The minute you get a Jackie Robinson, you sell him to the major leagues. But the right mindset is that when you get a Jackie Robinson, you hold on to him for dear life. You fight for control of that asset. You don't give it away. You don't sell it as soon as it has a certain value. You maintain ownership. That's what you do. That's what the Negro League should have done. They should have said, no, we won't sell this guy for $1 billion. This is the tentpole for this league and future growth of this league. If you want to do business with us or with Jackie, you're going to have to deal with us as an independent entity. Maybe we arrange games. We'll go play the Dodgers and the Dodgers can come play us. You share your audience with us. We share our audience with you. We do a partnership. We're not going to do an acquisition, because when you do an acquisition over a partnership, what you're doing, if you're the Negro Leagues, is you're selling not just the assets in your possession, you're selling the rights to those assets. You're selling all your options too. You know, just like if I have if I see, and it's about vision. This is why we do economic consciousness training. I have to keep reminding this so you'll understand why the class has such a weird name. There's no other economic or financial consciousness class I've ever seen anywhere, but it's important because your consciousness, your vision determines how you make economic decisions. So if I look at a 7-year-old girl and all I see is a 7-year-old girl, then I don't have any vision. If I have vision, then I see what that 7-year-old girl is going to be when she's 17, 27, 37 to 47. I see this child and what they're going to be when they become a parent, when they become a grandparent, and they have, 70 great grandkids or something, or 30 or whatever, right? That's what you should be able to see. You should see everything that something's going to become, not just what it is. Because if people saw the Negro Leagues and could see in a crystal ball of what the Negro Leagues would be in the year 2024, if they continue to maintain ownership and invest in it, there's no way they would have sold their Jackie Robinson. There's no way they would have let that go. There's no way. I think we let go of things when we cannot see the value. And that's where consciousness comes into play, because consciousness requires you to really be able to use your imagination and see things that don't exist yet, see potential. Do you follow me? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I like the story. I like Bernard Arnault. I like the way he runs his family. I like the way he understands the importance of investing in the future of the family name. I like the fact that even though he's worth over $200 billion, it seems to me like he can see what his company is going to look like 100 years from today. He sees what his grandkids and great grandkids are going to be able to contribute. And that company is going to be $1 trillion company in about probably a couple of decades, maybe less. No, not $1 trillion company. I'm sorry. His family wealth will be over $1 trillion. I bet his company is probably close to $1 trillion already. So just have some vision, man. If you have no vision, then all you see is what's in front of you. And if I look at the Black community, and if all I can see in the Black community is what I see right now, just all the chaos and brokenness and everything else, then I'm going to get depressed and I'm going to give up. The thing that gets me up every morning is because I'm not seeing what everybody else sees. I am a legit crazy person because I see things that are not there. The reason I get up every morning is because I see what B1 people are going to be when our grandkids are running things and they're living off of and they're building off the foundation that we're setting for them today. That's what I see. I don't see this shit. I don't even look at it. It's an abomination sometimes. It's an embarrassment. It's not worthy of who we are meant to be, in my opinion. So let me keep going. All right, Sybil, Dr. B, is it okay to just buy stocks and hold them instead of selling options? Absolutely, 100%. Yes. So don't feel like options are a requirement. Options are just an extra. It's like adding spice to your food. Like, just because you get chicken or whatever, you don't have to put seasoning on it. You could just eat the food without the salt or without the pepper or whatever, right? So options are a type of seasoning that just adds a little spice, but it's perfectly okay to eat the hot dog without the ketchup or whatever analogy you want to use. Should we hold or sell Uber amidst the lawsuits? Asked Stephanie. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I think Uber is just such a fascinating company because they've been able to lose money at an insane rate for a very long time and stay in business. This is, again, another type of white privilege people don't talk about. And it comes down to access to capital, because if it wasn't for the bank, Uber would be dead. Uber would not even be a thing if they didn't have the ability to access money like they can. Let's see, a couple more questions. Then I just got a note from one of my team members that I do have a meeting in 3 minutes. What should a 15 and 16-year-old do with their $1,000 check? Mutual funds, I think, will be fun, or maybe buy shares of some great American companies. Maybe make it fun, make it educational. So ask them to pick some of their favorite brands and own shares of those brands and explain what that means. I taught my 16-year-old daughter's best friend how to invest in 5 minutes. And I said, okay, let me show you on my phone. And I said, what's a company that you like? She said, Chipotle. I said, okay, well, let me show you this. Here's the share price. Here's how you buy. I punch buy. And I said, let's buy shares of Chipotle. And I bought it. And I said, okay, the order just went through. So now our family owns a percentage of Chipotle. And I got the best reaction. She said, whoa, that was so cool. And I loved hearing that. That made me feel good because, when you get old, you be trying to be cool. And it never works. We always look old. And so to be cool, like to be the cool dad, was kind of fun for me. So the point is to say that when you teach these things to your kids, make it part of the flow of just your regular life. So you're in line at the drive-thru at Starbucks, impress your kids and show them how you can buy ownership in Starbucks while you're in the drive-thru line. They're never going to forget that. I didn't see this type of stuff when I was 16, and when you show them that and then tell them a few of the things that I've shared with you, this is not light stuff. Like the stuff I'm breaking down for you and we're talking about every day. This is really cutting edge stuff. You're not going to learn this in college. So give it to your kids and they won't forget it. Everybody wants money. Everybody needs money. And if they don't need it now, they're going to need it at some point. And so they're going to remember the things that you tell them. So remember, I don't teach any students. I refuse to teach any students. I will only teach you if you agree to be a teacher. I will teach teachers. That's it. Because we have to multiply the knowledge base because we got so much working against us, so many people that want to keep us in the dark. We got to give everything we've got to fight against that. All right, so let's see here. Let's see. Renee says, thank you for all that you do. When's the next prime class? We did a prime class on Sunday, or was it Saturday? Or I think it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday we just did one. I don't know the dates. If you go to drboyceprime.com and log in, the dates are in there. I don't have the dates in front of me. My apologies for that. I want to say maybe around the 6th or something like that. And we're also going to do another Prime 101. We do a Prime 101 about once every 6 weeks for those that are beginners, or maybe you're trying to figure out how to make that first move. And so if you're a Prime member, Prime 101 is free. If you're not a Prime member, there is a small fee, but it's worth it. You'll 10x the amount that you invested to learn the process. So if you want to get an introduction to what we do in Prime, pull out your phone, text the word money to the number 87948. And I guarantee you that presentation will blow your mind. You're going to love it. And it's going to rock your whole world. And you're going to, I just know these things, some things I do know. I don't know everything, but some things I know. All right. So let's see. Jania, or is that Jinja? I think it's Jania. Okay. What Dr. Boyce is buying, shares stocks to hold for long-term, not buy, sell options. Yeah. What Dr. Boyce is buying, those are long-term investments, at least 3 years or more. The Dr. Boyce Money Makers, that's in the Prime program, that's specifically for options. So if you think about it, it's almost like remember when you would date when you were younger and you had the times where you would date somebody that you thought might be your husband or your wife, or maybe you had somebody else that wasn't going to be your husband or your wife. I'm not here to judge, but maybe you saw somebody, you're like, you would be a great one-night stand, or you would be a great person for me to date until I meet my spouse, right? I'm not saying you should do that. It's bad, right? Kind of bad, right? But as long as you kind of communicate that, right? Don't make any promises you don't want to keep, but y'all know what it is, right? There's some people that you're going to be attracted to for a while, but you're still like, no, he's not daddy husband material, but he's, he looks good, or she's pretty, or whatever, right? So same thing is true with stocks. My option stocks, those are my exciting money makers. Those are the ones where I can sell the options and get that cash flow and use the cash to do all kinds of stuff. It's very cool, but those are not always my long-term investments. My long-term stocks are a little more boring, but they have sustainability. They're not going to give me the same volatility. And so really, when I form a relationship with a stock, that's what I do. I categorize it. I put it in different categories based on what that stock can do, because every investment can be valuable for somebody based on what they're seeking to accomplish. You see what I mean? So this is where your preferences come into play, your risk tolerance, things like that. All right. So I'm going to have to go. I know there's a couple more questions. I'm sorry I can't answer them all, but I promised someone that I'd do something at this time, so I'm going to have to get on out of here. If you're not on the text list, make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to 87948, and you'll get an invitation for financial consciousness training tomorrow. So the number is 87948. You can text the word morning. Also, if you want to take a look at what Dr. Boyce is buying, you can go to drboycestocks.com and you can take a look at that and see if that's something that works for you. Last but not least, if the options thing is of interest to you, you can go to drboyceprime.com and see what we do in the Prime program. I think you're going to like it a lot. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you, and I will see you all tomorrow.
So if ever there are any kind of big changes of in or out in your life, obviously divorce or whatever, every time you have to do this. I did a series a couple weeks ago on women divorcing. And so I talked about the first thing you always have to do is who's on your beneficiary list if you have that spouse on there. So again, if everything is steady Eddie, yearly, but the second birth, death, divorce, large influx of money, exflux of money, lose a job, get a new job with a higher income, those are times when you must review because things have changed and you can possibly help save yourself taxes by making those adjustments. So yearly, unless things have changed, and then immediately.
That's really great information, because I know that there have been people, I've heard some nightmare stories about people who did not do that. And if something should happen to their home, they didn't have enough money to rebuild or to recoup their information. One of the things that we talked about when we first started today, and I highly suggest if you've missed anything that you please go back and rewatch this. Matter of fact, I want to make sure that you know who you're listening to, because you have some great information here for you to get started on, even if you're just thinking of home ownership, how you can leverage this towards your generational wealth. You are watching Fly Nubian Money, and we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. We're here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. I always want to say Pacific because I'm all over the place, Eastern Standard Time. So you can calculate wherever you are. I am joined by some awesome queens today, Madonna, Athena, Minister Connie, and myself. We are talking about home ownership, and you never want to miss any of our episodes. We talk about some really key information. So you want to make sure you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948 so that you'll receive notice when we go live and any other things that we have for you. Sometimes you get special little gifts when you text that. So make sure that you like and subscribe and text that number. So one of the things that we talked about when we first came on is some major challenges for women purchasing a home, or for anyone buying a home, but especially in our communities. And one of the things is affordability and housing costs. And the first thing people think of is usually single family homes. And there is a difference between single family and multifamily. A multifamily can be purchased up to 4 units under an FHA loan, which is your first time. Usually first time home buyers do an FHA loan because the down payment is 3.5%. But you can buy up to 4 units with that. So you want to talk about affordability. Well, you're living in one, but you can rent out the other 3. And that also can leverage the loan that you're taking out, because they'll take into account how much rent you are getting in. So in essence, you could be living pretty much zero with your tenants paying the mortgage on that property. That is an important thing to understand, that when you're purchasing a home, it doesn't mean you're just buying a single family home. You can buy a single family, a triplex, a duplex, And also, guys, if you're thinking, I can't deal with the house, I can't deal with the grass and you could buy condos and townhomes. There is a wealth of opportunity in real estate that can fit your needs. So don't think that you're just thinking inside the box. Start thinking outside the box, because just as Minister Connie purchased her first property that was a duplex, that's too. And you heard her say she purchased with an FHA. So, Minister Connie, when you purchased with that FHA, how long did you own that property? Do you still own that property? And how long did you hold it if you sold it?
I held that property for probably 10 years. I lived in it 4 years. Got married to the guy that sold me the property, and we bought another home. But I also had bought a fourplex, my next property, and that had I put my business in there. So I had my businesses on the first floor of each side, and then I rented out the apartments on each other side. So I was getting in 4 incomes off of the fourplex. So it was great. And how I bought that